come to my open door, and I feel like you can wait no more. You here, buddy, you could have just go, but since you gave, what we waiting for? Oh, I just ran it through 1,000 miles. I've imagined it 1,000 times. Oh, let me show you what we got. We found love, we found love, we found love under the sun. Oh, na na, under the sun. Oh, na na, oh, na na, oh, na na, under the sun. Oh, na na, oh, na na, oh, na na, under the sun, sun, sun. Oh, na na, oh, na na, oh, na na, under the sun. Oh, na na, oh, na na.
It's springtime in Michigan,
It is.
but it's minus 4 degrees Celsius outside.
Oh, it is frigid right now.
And it snowed a lot today.
Yes, it did.
That was kind of unexpected, actually. It happens in Michigan, but it was unexpected
It does,
today.
yeah.
So just minutes before we sat down for this, we were asked to move our cars in the parking lot
Yep.
so that the snowplow, actually 2 snowplows,
Yeah, two.
could clear.
One huge.
Yeah, one was huge, to clear our parking lot of all the snow.
Yeah.
And they did a nice job.
They
But
did.
anyways, you know who never has to deal with snowplows or minus 4 degrees temperatures?
I'm guessing probably not all of our friends in Singapore.
Definitely not our friends in Singapore. And pretty soon, hopefully, we won't have to either,
Right.
because CanJam Singapore is happening soon. I always forget the dates.
It's April 6th and 7th, 2024. It's at the Pan Pacific Singapore Hotel, which is in Marina Square.
Okay. Now, our Singaporean community, I would say, is among the most sophisticated audio communities in the world.
Yeah.
And they also have, in a concentrated area, Singapore has a pretty concentrated audio market.
Oh, they really do.
And it's so complete
Mm-hmm.
that it's such an honor that the community still joins us at CanJam Singapore.
Yep.
So that we can have essentially an audio party
Yeah, all weekend long.
all weekend long. So much friendship and camaraderie.
Yep.
Not just amongst the community, but also part of the community are the companies.
Yeah.
The manufacturers,
Mhm.
the dealers, distributors. It's such a
Yep.
wonderful time.
Yeah.
So I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, I would say that the Singaporean community, they tend to focus a little more than other communities maybe on IEMs.
Yeah, there's a tilt.
Yeah, there's a bit of a tilt there.
Yeah.
And we'll get to those.
Yeah.
But we're not going to start this preview with IEMs.
Right.
We're going to start with the bigger stuff in front of us here,
Yes.
the over-ear headphones. We got a lot to cover in this video, so I guess we should probably get to it. So traveling halfway around the world to Singapore,
Yep.
I thought I'd talk about this one first.
Yeah.
So this is the Abyss Diana MR, the Abyss Headphones Diana MR.
Correct. Yeah.
And this is their latest headphone.
It is.
And the reason I want to talk about it is because it is my travel headphone of choice. The Diana has been, the various Dianas have been pretty much my over-ear headphones of
Yeah,
choice.
it's what you usually reach for.
Right. But this one now gives me more versatility
Yeah.
because it is more sensitive, easier to drive.
Yep.
It's 30 ohm impedance. And it also has a signature I totally dig.
Yeah.
Now, I would say between the two of us, you favor, I like resolution, of course. We all do.
Yeah.
But I would say you tend to favor raw resolution more than I do.
I do.
Okay. I think it's a fair statement.
Yep.
And so you still prefer the Diana TC, which is the flagship.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. I can see why. I still love the TC, but this one is a little smoother for me.
Yeah.
Especially if you put on the I think these are vegan ultra suede ear pads.
Yeah.
It smooths the top even a little more. And it has a nice rich tone.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it also has perhaps the most conventional sound signature of all the Abyss headphones to date.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And because of that, I think Abyss says on their website that they're intending to sort of bridge the audiophile and professional audio market.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and of all the Abyss headphones, I would say this would be the one that would have the most obvious pro audio appeal.
Right.
So this is a can't miss for me. So if you're going to go, it's going to be at AV1's exhibit.
Yep.
And so go to AV1, check out the Abyss Diana MR. It's just fantastic.
It is.
If you want to hear my current choice for over-ear travel headphone, or come to my room. Okay, no, don't come to my room, but I'll probably have. Don't come to my room. It's probably messy, but I'll probably have a Diana MR up there in a desktop system in my hotel room. That's how much I dig this. But also check out the rest of the Diana headphones, the AB1266. That's still a phenomenal headphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah. Anyways, AV1. Now we were just talking about how you tend to prioritize raw resolution a bit more than I do.
I do.
And it's still important to me, to be clear.
Sure.
And I hold in my hands here an example of a headphone that resolves
So well.
so well, like so few headphones can,
Oh, yeah.
regardless of type. So, and it's the Utopia
Yes.
from Focal. And this is the latest version, the one that released in 2022. So we're going to call it the Utopia 2022.
Yeah.
The Utopia before it, the OG Utopia, was the most resolving dynamic headphone ever created.
Yeah.
Until this came out.
Yeah.
And though this has a smoother signature, so smoother treble, a little bit more bass, a little more richness.
Yep.
It is more resolving to me than even the original Utopia.
Right.
More importantly, I don't need to EQ it. So the original Utopia, I would EQ those things, those characteristics that I just described into the original Utopia.
Yeah.
For this, I don't EQ.
Right.
And again, I find it to be more resolving, even though the treble is smoother.
Mm-hmm.
I find it more resolving, even though it has some more bass and richness.
Yeah.
I find it to be more resolving. And by the way, imagine Utopia. If you heard the original Utopia, but not the 2022, imagine that level of resolution applied to a richer tone.
Yeah.
We're talking texture, people,
Yes.
like from one end to the other.
Yeah.
So I love this thing. The Utopia 2022, don't miss it. Also, don't miss the closed back flagship, which uses the same solid beryllium dome
Yes, it does.
as the Utopia.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely has more richness. It's a closed back, has more richness, some more bass slam.
Yep.
Love that headphone.
It's called the Stellia.
Did I not say
Not
what
the
it's
name.
called? It's the Stellia, the Focal Stellia. That's their flagship closed back.
Yeah.
Love that headphone too, so don't miss that. Now, around your neck, you're wearing something completely, well, not really completely different because it also uses...
It uses an M-shaped dome.
An M-shaped dome.
Aluminum magnesium, I believe.
Right.
But it's the same size, I think, as the
Yeah,
the
actually, it's the
Utopia.
same dome used in other headphones.
Yeah.
From Focal in their flagship line.
Yeah.
But that is a wireless, closed back,
Mm-hmm.
noise-canceling headphone.
Yes, it is.
So
This is the Focal Batiste.
the Batiste.
Yes.
I keep forgetting to mention the name. So that's the Focal Batiste.
Yeah.
You're wearing the newest colorway, which is the Dune colorway.
Yeah, it's the Dune colorway. There's also black, but Dune is kind of topical right now since Dune 2 came out, a few weeks ago.
Movie nerd.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but I love Dune. I'm kind of
Yeah.
a Dune nerd. But anyways, so yes, that's the Dune colorway, which is the one I've actually been using. You've been using the
Black.
the standard
Yeah.
black one. Now, of all the wireless, the Bluetooth noise canceling headphones, that is my musical standard.
Sure.
The one that I enjoy listening to music through the most.
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted if my primary goal was canceling noise on a plane, for example,
It's good, but
It's
it's not
good.
what I would recommend.
yes, I would go with Bose's latest, the whatever,
Sony
yeah,
or
Sony
Apple.
or even Apple.
Yeah.
But for music listening,
Yeah.
you're wearing my reference.
Yeah. For fidelity, primarily with ANC on the side, this is the way to go.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this also in the CanJam New York preview recently. The other cool thing about the Batiste is it has in the app the Harman
Oh, I forgot about
around
that.
ear over ear target.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear what that's like and compare it to the default signature, it's right in the app. You can flip it back and forth
Mhm.
to hear it. I'm going to say it. I prefer the default signature.
Yep.
So I'd be curious to know what most people in Singapore
And I EQ it slightly.
you EQ it slightly.
Yeah.
So I like the default signature. So the Focal headphones will be at the
They'll be at the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit.
Zeppelin & Co. exhibit.
So I was talking with Christy over email, and she actually let me know that they're going to have a couple of discounts on Focal's headphones. So anybody looking to check these out, definitely swing by. You might also even be able to save a few bucks.
Noble Audio will be at CanJam Singapore. And no, I haven't made a mistake. I know this isn't the in-ear segment, but the over-ear segment. But that's because Noble Audio will have an over-ear headphone at CanJam Singapore called the Noble Audio Apollo. The Apollo will use a world's first hybrid dual driver arrangement with a 40mm dynamic driver and a 14mm planar magnetic driver. It'll have active noise cancellation, Bluetooth 5.3, and it'll have AAC, aptX HD, LDAC, and Snapdragon sound. Now, John Moulton on the forums said, full-size cans, something I always thought was a pinnacle step, and here we are on the brink of it. It took 10 years, but still a big accomplishment for a simpleton like myself. And that sounds like something John Moulton would say. Anyway, at CanJam Singapore, do not miss the Noble Audio Apollo over-ear headphone. All right, Resolution Man.
Present.
So this is what we both agree on as one of the most resolving headphones ever made.
Yes.
Of any type.
Yeah.
We're not alone. I think the
We're not.
community pretty much regards it that way universally as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
Rockheads especially.
What's that?
Rockheads especially.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know that I'd call myself a rockhead, but I mean, it is just so silly resolving. This is the Hi-Fi Man Susvara, still their flagship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, still their flagship of all the headphones they make that aren't called Shangri-La.
Right.
And it's just so incredible. If you feed it well, this is important because it's not the easiest headphone to drive.
No, it's not.
So if you feed it well, source it well, amp it well,
Yes.
it pays back in spades.
Oh, yeah.
So much information, so much music, so much texture, so much everything.
Yeah, the work is well rewarded.
It's incredible. Now, I'm assuming... so I don't know if I mentioned, the Hi-Fi Man will have their own exhibit there, which I'm very, very excited about. Yeah. And I'm assuming since they'll be there, and I hope anyway, that they're going to have the EF-1000 amp DAC.
Yeah.
Now, I know we're on over-ears, but I want to mention it real quick because this through the EF-1000 is incredible.
Yeah.
So if they have that there, listen to it. Maybe we'll mention it briefly also in the desktop section. But yes.
That pairing?
Yeah, that pairing. Don't miss the Susvara. Now, we've talked a few times about what you prefer.
We have.
And I also love resolution, but I tend to prioritize a lot, say, compared to you, smoothness, richness.
Right.
Which brings me to the Aria Organic.
Yep.
So aptly named. I love the way it looks, by the way.
It's beautiful.
It does remind me of the Shangri-La.
I love the color.
Yeah. So the Shangri-La Senior, I think.
Yes. Yeah. The Junior, I think, is all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the Aria Organic, and I'm trying to think through the annals of Hi-Fi Man headphone history to see if what I'm about to say is a safe statement. I think it is. And that is that the Aria Organic is probably the best value headphone they have ever made.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say it's a giant killer.
Yeah.
So they designed it to be, what were the other Arias? There was the Aria and Aria Stealth.
Yeah.
Massive successes for Hi-Fi Man. But for this one, they wanted to bring everything good that those headphones had, which were considered great values, but add some richness and warmth, a fuller sound signature.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished. Still within what I would call the range of neutrality that a lot of people love about Hi-Fi Man, but satisfies me so much with respect to richness, smoothness.
Yep.
For a Hi-Fi Man headphone. I'm going to say this. This is also going to be maybe mildly controversial for Hi-Fi Man lovers. In terms of the default tonal balance, I would probably prefer it to the Susvara even.
Okay.
No, for real. It's just that obviously the Susvara to me is just more resolving.
Yeah.
That's an inescapable fact to my ears. But just in terms of the tonal balance, I would say I probably prefer this one. So this is, to me, again, it's the best value headphone I think they've ever made. At least top of mind right now, I think it is.
Right.
But again, I'm thinking hard to see if that's safe. I think that's a safe statement. And it's just a giant slayer. Phenomenal headphones. So if you haven't heard the Aria Organic, do not miss it at CanJam Singapore. Of course, listen to the rest of Hi-Fi Man's lineup as well. But if you had to pick the best value Hi-Fi Man and just a giant slayer, I would say Aria Organic for sure.
Okay, now this next one is a bit of a mystery, but there will be a new headphone at CanJam Singapore coming from a company you might not expect. It's coming from Dunu, and it's called the Dunu Arashi. The Dunu Arashi is a planar magnetic headphone, and it marks Dunu's first venture into full-size headphones. They're keeping details pretty close to the chest on this one so far, but there are a few specs we can share, so definitely check these out. Now, the design they're showing at CanJam Singapore is still in development, so it's not the final build, but it will be the final voicing. So there will be some potential aesthetic changes by the time this launches. However, everything you hear at CanJam Singapore will be final.
Now, a lot of headfires probably don't realize this, but this headphone is used in pretty much every single CanJam preview video, Headfi TV video, or whatever else we produce, because this is one of my main listening headphones. It comes from Audeze. It's called the MM100. Now, the MM100, it's, first of all, very budget friendly. Here in the US, it's $400. So as far as Audeze headphones go, it's one of their most affordable options, period. And it's got a 90 millimeter planar magnetic driver, I should also mention that that MM100 is part of the Manny Marroquin line, the MM series. So if you don't know, Manny Marroquin is a Grammy Award-winning music producer and engineer, and he heads up their division of professional products at
met
Odyssey.
Manny yet?
I haven't met him yet.
I haven't
No,
met him yet either.
haven't had a chance. Someday maybe.
Yeah, I hope so.
But I tell you, when he puts his fingers on a headphone, between the 500 and the 100, these things are both wonderful. And the 100 is the one I reach for just because it's so nice to use. I'm not worried if I accidentally bump it off the desk or whatever because it's affordable. And I love how it's got dual headphone entries on the bottom, but it's single entry only. So you can choose whatever single side your headphone cable goes in. I have my sources set on the left of my desk so I can run my cable to the left. Routed around, it's just really, really nice.
What voodoo is that? So you can plug it into either ear cup.
Either side, but it's a single entry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know because I never get to use it.
I know exactly.
Yeah, we have one in
it's
the
mine.
office. Yeah, and
This
it
is mine. So it has, a lot of technology inside that people recognize Odyssey for, like the Fluxor and the Phasor technology. It's got an 18 ohm impedance, so very flexible overall, and it's lightweight. So it's got a headband system that may look familiar from some of their other headphones, like the Maxwell.
Yeah, so it's super durable.
Yeah, very
Which
durable.
I think is what they wanted.
They did.
Yeah.
There's no suspension system to go bad. If this breaks, you just replace the leather strap. It's really simple. And then it's made out of magnesium and steel for the chassis. So lightweight, comfortable on the head. I can wear this for hours on end. It sounds wonderful. And I should mention, I use this for work, but it's also good for music listening.
Right.
It's got more of a studio reference-y signature because it is designed with professionals in mind. But just because it's studio reference doesn't mean it has to be boring.
Yeah.
It is lovely. I love everything about this headphone. This is mine.
Yeah.
If you want your own,
Yeah.
get you a second one, but this is mine.
I've heard it briefly. I agree with you
Yeah.
on how you describe it for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm no expert because I haven't had enough time with it.
Yeah.
Because you always have it.
So Odyssey's coming themselves. You'll be able to find them at their exhibit. Definitely stop by. Give this a listen. It is a must hear.
Now, the other Odyssey headphone that I would recommend checking out for sure would be the Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
So you're more of a gamer than I am.
Yes.
So I've used it a lot for gaming, actually.
Yeah.
Because when it first arrived, I wanted to see what it was like in its use case. And then it started gravitating for me into a non-noise canceling
It's a wireless
headphone.
music headphone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually incredible for that.
Yeah.
And it has, as gamers go, they dig it because it has really quickly selectable EQ settings
It does. I love the button system.
right on the
it.
headphone.
Yep.
And but they're usable EQ settings.
They are.
So one of them is Harmonish.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear a Harman-like target
Mm-hmm.
in the Maxwell, you can. It's exceptional for gaming.
Yep.
And it has like a zillion hours of battery. I don't remember, what is it, 80?
I think it's 80. Yeah.
80 or 85 hours of battery life. So
Yeah.
it'll go forever. I feel like I never charge it.
Yeah.
Because you just plug it in every once in a while and then you just use it forever.
Right.
So the Maxwell is a can't miss headphone, even if you're just looking for a musical wireless headphone. No noise canceling. It is closed back though.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just exceptional.
Yeah. Oh, we should also mention that the flagships will be there, the LCD5 and the Carbon.
Yeah.
So the LCD5 is the flagship planar magnetic headphone. The Carbon is the flagship electrostatic headphone. And these two are very familial. I always recommend people try them both side by side, figure out which one they kind of prefer because they're different, but there's an essence that's shared between them.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I would agree with that. And incredibly resolving headphones, both of them.
Yeah.
We did video reviews of both.
We did.
Full videos
Mm-hmm.
with measurements and commentary.
Mhm.
So do check those out. And you don't have to go to their flagships to get some incredible headphones from Odyssey,
don't, yeah.
including the ones we mentioned already. But one of my favorite headphones, much more affordable than their flagships, is the LCDX, the latest version.
Yeah, the refresh.
Yeah, they have so many great headphones in the lineup. But if you want to hear one of my favorites, maybe ever from Odyssey's, when you consider price, it's the LCDX. So again, you mentioned they'll have their own exhibit. So Odyssey will be at CanJam Singapore, which I think is very, very cool. FIO will also have over-ear headphones at CanJam Singapore. This is the FIO FT3. I love this headphone. It's an open-back dynamic driver headphone, and it is a large diaphragm, 60-millimeter dynamic drivers that are angled and made of DLC, diamond-like carbon, and an impedance of 350 ohms. Now, the FT3, in my opinion, has the chance of becoming a classic over the years, in the vein of something like a Sennheiser HD600, HD650. Why? Because it's very reasonably priced, and it sounds fantastic. Not just for the money, it just sounds fantastic. A studio monitor type sound signature if you're into that, and I think a lot of people are. FiiO will also have the planar magnetic counterpart to the FiiO FT3. It's called the FiiO FT5. The FT5 is an open back planar headphone, 90mm planar magnetic drivers, 36 ohm impedance, and it has a magnesium alloy housing, 2 types of ear pads for tuning. So just like the FiiO FT3, it's extremely well equipped for the price. I've only had a chance to hear it very, very briefly, so I want to hear it again at CanJam Singapore. I also noticed that FiiO just announced a new headphone model I hadn't previously heard of called the FiiO JT1. I imagine they'll have that at CanJam Singapore. The FiiO JT1 is a closed-back, ultra-affordable dynamic headphone, 50mm dynamic drivers. I know little else about it, so I'm looking forward to hearing that at CanJam Singapore. When Sennheiser comes to CanJam Singapore, they put on an awesome exhibit.
Yeah.
And they're going to come with all their classics, I'm sure.
Likely.
Yeah, the HD800, HD800S, HD820, 600, 650, which brings me to this, and this is the one I want to focus on. You might have thought I was holding a 600 or 650. This is not. This is the HD660S2.
Yep.
The HD600 and 650, I've mentioned earlier headphones that'll go down as classics. These are already classics.
Yeah.
The 600 and 650, they might be the most classic headphones
Maybe.
of all the headphones, and I'm not even exaggerating.
Yeah.
Just for the, they're attainable.
Mm-hmm.
In our world anyway, they're affordable.
Right.
But this headphone I think is so incredibly important. This is the HD660S2, and to my ears, in my opinion, it's the best of the HD600 class headphones. It's a return to 300 ohms.
Mm-hmm.
And it does something that I've always wanted from the HD600 and 650. Has more extended bass.
Yep.
And it's just more refined up top to me. So to me, this is a refinement of the HD600, 650 idea.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I've listened to those headphones, especially in modern times with a lot of the headphones that have come out since, I've just wanted more bass. But I've still wanted a 600 class headphone. This is that headphone.
Yeah.
And I love it. So it is my favorite of those. Maybe a controversial opinion because of the classic status of the other two. But if you want to hear what I think is the best sounding HD 600 class headphone from Sennheiser, it is the 660S2 at the Sennheiser exhibit. This is an absolute can't miss. I don't know how much time you've spent with this one.
Not a lot.
Yeah, but
I'm more of a 600 guy.
That's true. You are kind of. I don't know that this will change your mind.
Probably not.
For the differences in our tastes. But for anybody that's wanted more extended bass, more presence, a little more richness, a little more refinement, in my opinion, in the treble, 660S2 for sure. While we're on the topic of over-ear headphones, Dakoni Audio is making the trip to Singapore to exhibit. And of course, what Dakoni Audio is probably best known for is their ear pads for over-ear headphones. In fact, at CanJam New York recently, Tal Kosin from Dakoni Audio gave a talk titled Ear Pads as Critical Acoustical Devices. Dakoni takes their ear pad designs and tunings very seriously. So definitely bring your favorite over-ears to Dakoni Audio's exhibit to try their replacement ear pads. You can find the wide range of headphones supported on their website at DakoniAudio.com. Dakoni also makes replacement ear tips, so bring your IEMs to Dakoni Audio's exhibit too. One of my favorite Dakoni Audio products does not change the sound of my headphones, but it does protect them. This is a Dakoni Audio Savior V2 soft shell headphone carrying case. We have a lot of these at HeadFi HQ so that we can safely carry and store many of our high-end over-ear headphones. Dakoni Savior cases are designed to carry and protect your headphones, cables, DACs, and anything else needed on the go. They have thick padding on all sides, a reconfigurable interior, cable and accessory storage areas, and the Savior V2 version is tall enough for just about any over-ear headphone. Dakoni Audio also collaborates with Hi-Fi Man and Fostex to make custom over-ear headphones. So also make sure to check out the Dakoni Hi-Fi Man Cobalt closed-back dynamic headphone and the Fostex Dakoni Hi-Fi audiophile planar magnetic headphone.
Now, this next one is for those of you who heard the original Meza Audio Lyric and wanted something a little more romantic, a little more something in your sound signature. This is the Meza Audio Lyric 2, and I'm going to start off by saying they made changes based on Headfire and community feedback. They specifically say the sound of the Lyric 2 has been refined with the help of our community's feedback, and it now falls in between a balanced and warm profile, and I'm going to say that's absolutely accurate.
I would say that's extremely accurate.
Yeah, it's definitely more towards that kind of romantic lush side than before, but if you're more like me, who's, looking more for kind of referencey sound, more linear, the Lyric is the way to go. But the Lyric 2, it's going to be something that a lot of people are looking for. It's not just the sound signature that's changed. Actually, I should really mention real quick. One of the reasons why I think the sound signature has changed is probably this. It's right under here, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's the quarter wavelength resonator mask.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second because you just did something very important,
Yeah.
which is you just removed the ear pad very easily.
Yeah.
That is a new trick with the Lyric 2 that the Lyric did not have.
Yep.
It's kind of taken from the flagship headphones,
Yeah.
like the Empyrean and Elite, that really easily removable ear pad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the quarter wavelength resonator mask, it is a precision crafted metal component that strategically covers select openings in the driver frame to effectively attenuate high frequency peaks above 7 kilohertz for a less fatiguing listening experience. And I'm going to say that's accurate.
Yeah.
That is absolutely, the way I hear it.
Right.
So I think that change right there, plus maybe the change to the mounting system, maybe there's a little more voodoo underneath, but those changes have definitely brought a more romantic signature.
Absolutely.
And they've also brought the romance in the finish.
Yes.
I find wood romantic. It's a lovely thing. It's warm. It's inviting. It's wonderful to have. And they chose a wonderful Macassar ebony on this, and it's just the finish is exquisite. The detailing on all of the attachments, all of the parts, the finish here on the black parts, that the shadows, the way it catches the light.
Yeah,
is just so lovely.
I've said before so many times that I think the most beautiful headphones made are from Meza Audio.
Yeah.
The most meticulously crafted headphones, I think, are from Meza Audio.
Yeah.
As I've also said before, I don't remember in which video, I said that no headphones love the microscopy of macro photography more than Meza Audio headphones. Yeah.
So if you're looking for something a little more lush, less referencey, the Meza Audio Lyric 2 is absolutely one that needs to be on
anybody
the
looking
list.
for any reasonably priced audiophile closed back headphone.
Yep.
Not always very common, right?
No.
Yeah, definitely listen to the Lyric 2. So it seems pretty obvious to me that Meza Audio is dead set on surprising us all.
Oh yeah, it does feel that way.
Yeah, they did it with the Lyric 2. We just talked about the change in the signature there, going from the original Lyric to that.
Yep.
This one, though, this is the Meza Audio Empyrean 2, to me is almost shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a shocker for me. And I think a lot of people are going to love this headphone. Let me explain the differences. So the original Empyrean, I think, will go down in headphone audiophile history as one of the absolute classics.
Oh, no doubt.
It certainly will with me.
Yeah.
It just, again, raised the craftsmanship level of
when that came out,
headphones.
we'd seen nothing like it.
Right. And I also loved the lush sound signature. And that's the best way I can describe it. Really lush mids, a smooth sound, still resolving, but completely, for me, non-fatiguing. One of the most non-fatiguing resolving headphones I've ever heard. But I could see where some people might listen to the original Empyrean, just depending on your tastes, or even the Elite, which I kind of found to be a sort of refinement of the Empyrean.
Right.
And find that they were just too lush for them.
Yeah. Me.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah.
And so where did they go with the Empyrean 2? They went with what I would characterize as a studio monitor reference type sound signature. It is the most conventionally voiced Meza Audio headphone ever made.
Yeah, it is.
And it is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for that type of signature, you must give this a listen. I asked them if this was something that they saw pro audio people listening to, and the nature of their answer kind of suggested to me they almost intended that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so this is important to say. If you've gone by Meza Audio's exhibit in the past, and you've heard the Empyrean, and they've had other editions of it that might even look like this.
Yeah, I think
By the
they
way,
did.
the looks of this are stunning.
Oh, I love that. The grill on that thing is so exquisitely crafted.
Yes, the grill is, they upped their game on the grill, which I didn't think was possible.
They really did.
You took some beautiful pictures of it, by the way.
But there's no bad angle on
There's
that.
no bad angle on this thing. But anyway, okay, important message. If you've gone by Meza Audio's exhibit, and they will be exhibiting on their own at CanJam Singapore, if you've gone by their exhibit before or at a store, and you've heard the Empyrean and Elite, they've had other special editions that kind of look like this one.
Yeah.
And so because it looks rather a lot like an original Empyrean, don't walk by because you've heard them before if they weren't for you and said, oh, they're not for me.
Yeah.
This is, again, different enough. And if those weren't for you, this might be, as with you, like right up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
Don't walk by Meza's exhibit without trying the Empyrean 2. Dan Clark Audio will be at CanJam Singapore with their full lineup, including their latest headphone, which has understandably been a huge hit, the Dan Clark Audio E3. While the E3 looks like an open-back headphone and sounds a lot like an open-back headphone, it is in fact a closed-back planar magnetic model that is, in my opinion, the best value Dan Clark Audio headphone made so far. The E3 uses the latest innovations in Dan Clark Audio's AMTS technology, which stands for Acoustic Metamaterial Tuning System. It also incorporates a new, very complex diaphragm knurling using their V-planar technology. And they even use a clipple system to match ear pads for precise pairings, which I think is incredible. I visited Dan Clark Audio's headquarters in California last year, and we shot an interview with Dan Clark, which we included in a full review video, including measurements of the Dan Clark Audio E3, which you can find on headfi.org and on our YouTube channel, so make sure to give that a watch. More importantly, make sure to give a listen to the Dan Clark Audio E3 at CanJam Singapore. While you're at Zeppelin&Co's exhibit, which is going to be huge, by the way.
Yeah, I think they're filling 2 whole rooms.
Yeah, it's going to be ginormous. So while you're at Zeppelin's ginormous exhibit,
Yep.
do not miss this headphone, which, by the way, looks so gorgeous on the monitor, I just noticed. This is the ZMF Headphones Atrium, and a lot of people buy ZMF headphones as much for the sound, and I mean as much for the looks as the sound, I think.
Yeah, the craftsmanship is exquisite.
Exquisite.
Yeah.
But the sound of this headphone means so much to me that it eclipses the looks.
Right.
I literally almost could not care less how this headphone looks. This is about the sound. Why do I love the ZMF Headphones Atrium so much? Which, by the way, is their dynamic flagship.
Yes.
They have a planar magnetic flagship called the Caldera.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I love this headphone so much? Like a great tube amp, it's kind of hard to put your finger on, like what it is you love about it. But the music just jumps out of this headphone so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's so lifelike to me. And it's not because it's a resolution machine. It resolves extremely well, but it's not, I wouldn't say that it is like a resolving machine like some other headphones might be.
Right.
But it's just the way it presents music, period. And I can listen to it for hours, and I do. And since its release, it's just been one of my favorites, again, of any headphone, of any type, at any price. So at Zeppelin&Co's exhibit, if you want to hear the headphone that I love so much, listen to the ZMF Headphones Atrium at their exhibit. Don't miss it.
Now, speaking of their flagship headphones, ZMF Headphones also has the Caldera.
Yeah.
But they recently released the Caldera Closed, which is a closed-back version of the Caldera. Zach Merbach from ZMF Headphones, he describes it as just a closed Caldera, which is a very Zach thing. And I'm going to go into that in a second here, but there's a lot of stuff inside that is the same as the Caldera open.
Right. So
it has, the 60 ohm all ZMF planar magnetic driver inside. It has the Caldera asymmetrical magnet structure, which, if you haven't heard before, they say the asymmetric shape lessens obstructed diaphragm surface area, allowing traces to be less obstructed and more evenly dispersed over the diaphragm. And it also has something from the Atrium, which is that damping system, the ADS. And they say that allows the designer of an acoustic headphone system a myriad of options to best tune the pressure and airflow behind a headphone driver. It shares a similar wood, so it has the white oak. This one comes in a natural or coffee gold finish, so depending on what kind of stain you like, go and pick that out. I think they also have some limited editions coming soon.
Okay.
I think.
Of the Caldera.
Zach was talking about limited editions coming down the road, so I think there's some in the pipe. So if the wood finish isn't exactly what you want in your ZMF, because like we said before, the aesthetics, some guys are really wanting to get that perfect cup finish.
Yeah.
Maybe wait for one of the limiteds, but you can get the sound now in the white oak. And they say that it's an all acoustic tuning, so there are no resistors or anything like that in the system. And this is one of those things we've talked about in the past. I think it was London. We were talking about this, where there's a school of thought. Either you're in the camp of the Caldera or you're in the camp of the Atrium, and there's a split between the two. We know you're
I love them both.
more.
I love. Okay, we're talking now. At this point, we're kind of talking about the open one.
A little bit of both.
So the flagship open headphone, the Caldera planar magnetic, love that headphone.
Yeah.
Also a very musical headphone.
Mm-hmm.
I just favor the Atrium.
Yeah.
The Caldera has grown on me and it's closed the gap a little bit, but the Atrium I think will always be my favorite of the two. But a lot of people love the Caldera. And there are, I would say in London, maybe more people prefer the Caldera to the Atrium. The open.
Maybe. And anybody in that camp is going to want to check out the Caldera Closed because they sound... It's familial.
Well, it
is very much a close. I mean, it's obviously not identical, but it's
yeah, like you said earlier, when asked, Zach said it's a closed Caldera.
Yeah.
That's literally like all he had to offer.
But it's an apt description that it does feel like a closed Caldera.
And it's not easy to engineer that, by the way. It's not just slapping the wood cup
No.
the wood cover on it and
Yeah.
closing it. It takes a tremendous amount of engineering. They're a very engineering-focused company. You're so much better at talking about all the little details. I'm like, atrium, sound good. Listen, you're like telling all these great details. I got to get better. But anyways.
I make notes.
Yeah, you do. But anyways, but Caldera closed, sound great. But anyway. Anyways. Yeah, this is a can't miss headphone.
It is.
Now, there's one more ZMF headphones model that I want to make sure you will be able to try at Zeppelin & Co.'s exhibit. And I say try because it's still a prototype. It's not available for purchase yet. But that's the ZMF headphones Bokeh Open. Now, like the Bokeh Close, which launched last year, it was their closed, more portable friendly, more traditional sounding, and easier to drive ZMF headphones model. It's definitely worth checking out if you get the chance. But the Bokeh Open is the open back sibling to that headphone. Like the Bokeh Closed, it features the same 80-ohm liquid crystal polymer driver, and this one comes in a birch-colored plywood with an exotic wood grill. That sounds, to me, very enticing to the eyes, and I know the Bokeh Closed is very enticing to the ears, so the Bokeh Open is absolutely a must-hear for all of you to stop by Zeppelin & Co.'s exhibit, give it a listen, let Zach know what you think, and I think that goes on sale later this year.
So we've already talked about some headphones that were an evolution of a previous model. Utopia 2022, Utopia... Empyrean 2, Empyrean...
Lyric 2 and Lyric.
Lyric 2 and Lyric. And the one thing is the evolution, right? The next model still looked and felt to some degree like the original model.
Yeah.
This one is an evolution of a previous model that looks and feels absolutely nothing like the headphone before it.
Complete departure.
Complete departure in all the best ways.
Yep.
This is the Headphone 2. From Head, H-E-D-D.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I always find the name entertaining. Headphone was their original headphone, H-E-D-D phone. Loved the way it sounded. Very neutral sounding, extremely revealing. It uses an air motion transformer driver, which is a different sounding driver.
Exactly.
And I loved the way it sounded, but I was so bummed out because the headphone weighed what felt to me like a zillion grams.
I think it was actually over 700 grams, if I'm
Right.
not mistaken.
And it was just, it felt heavy on my head.
Yeah.
I also didn't like the way it sized on my head because I have a rather large head. And it was just so heavy and it felt heavy.
Yeah.
This headphone is 25% lighter, which is significantly lighter.
Yeah.
But with this redesigned headband, which they call the Headband 2, this is actually a complete redesign. The whole headphone has been redesigned, and it is a refinement of the previous model. I think it's a new driver and everything.
I believe so.
Yeah. And it has the things that I loved about the headphone acoustically, but refines it.
Yes.
And I can wear this one.
Yeah.
So the headband, which they call the Headband 2,
do.
H-E-D-D Band 2, as you can see, has a series of straps. I think the straps are made out of...
I think it's Hypalon.
I think it's Hypalon. And you can adjust these straps to not only adjust the height, but also the caliper pressure on your head. And by the time you adjust it to fit your head, it feels like it's tailor-made for your head.
Yeah, it distributes it so much better.
Yes, so the weight is distributed better. So it's 25% lighter, but to me, it feels infinitely lighter. And as far as the signature goes, it's everything I loved about the original headphone, but I can wear it. But it's everything about the original headphone, but better. Again, the treble is refined. The whole signature is refined.
Yeah.
And as you've mentioned to me when we were talking about it earlier today, it has extension in both directions.
For days.
For days.
Yeah.
And again, the AMT driver, it sounds unique, but I do love it.
Yeah.
So make sure to listen to the Headphone 2, this AMT driver headphone that you can wear for hours, and that just sounds gorgeous. I still EQ some bass into this one, 3 to 5 dB bass shelf sometimes, but sometimes I don't.
Okay.
So I love that sort of it's neutral signature. Anyway, this will be at the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit, and it's a can't miss. So you're holding the Audio-Technica
AWKG.
AWKG.
Yep.
And I feel a little guilty because when it arrived, it had the stock ear pads on it. So I want to just say quickly, it comes with 2 different sets of ear pads.
Yeah.
The stock ear pads and then a set made by ZMF headphones.
Right.
Okay, I heard the stock ear pads because I was the first one to audition them, and I thought it was a little too bright for my tastes. And then knowing that the ZMF ones were going to provide a richer signature, I changed the pads.
Right.
Okay, so here's the thing. It's a rare headphone.
Yes.
They're going to need that one back for another show. And I it wasn't hard to change the pads, but there was like some stretching involved to get it over the little retaining ring. And so what I was, I'm ham-fisted. I have little hands, but I tend to break things. So I didn't want to tear the pads, and so we're not changing the pads back to the stock pads. You never got to hear them with the stock pads. I thought they were a little too bright for me. With the ZMF pads, though, I love them.
Yeah.
So it's much more musical to me. So now that's the only way you've heard them.
It
and
is.
I feel guilty.
It's still a really nice sound.
Yeah.
So hopefully maybe one day I'll get to hear the stock pads.
Yeah.
But as it is right now with the ZMF pads, it sounds very nice.
Yes, I agree.
It's one of those headphones I can listen to for a while and just kind of get lost in it.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of those, when the mood strikes kind of headphones for me in that regard, but it still sounds
With
lovely.
the ZMF pads, it's kind of like I can find that mood a lot.
I bet you could probably, yeah.
I dig it.
So just a quick rundown. This is a 53 millimeter dynamic driver. It has a Perminder iron cobalt alloy for the driver. And it has a flange ring that's made of titanium alloy. And it has some Audio-Technica technology that people may have already heard of in the past, like the double air damping system, or DADs, which we mentioned it before, but again, it ensures a smooth and accurate low frequency response while providing a closed back headphone with a transparent soundstage akin to an open back headphone. Now, the sound is very nice, but I have to say, even now, we've had this here for, a couple weeks, and the finish still takes me by surprise. It is stunning, especially when you get it under the right light. Photographs don't do it justice.
They don't.
It is so beautiful. So it has a black persimmon wood, which is called Kurogaki, and I mean, I'm gonna try it. You have to see it in person.
You have
It
to
is
see it in person.
Absolutely
Right.
beautiful. And like you said, there are only a few made. I think we were told there's 15 in existence right
currently.
now.
Yeah, currently, yeah.
Very small number currently available. So we want to baby this thing, and they're also showing it with with that Narukami amp.
The $108,000 amp, yeah.
So a handful of guys got to hear it at CanJam New York, and the
I did not.
impressions were astounding.
Yes,
for that thing.
almost all the impressions of it were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone knew it was crazy expensive,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things like, you get the chance to hear it, you take that chance to hear it.
And the people who saw it also said it was like the most beautiful audio piece of gear they'd ever seen, period.
Yeah. So I was told that I didn't get to take a demo myself, but I was told that the one they had in the room at New York was the actual one from the photos. So the marbling, so beautiful on that
stunning.
wood. So definitely stop by Audio-Technica's exhibit. For the amplifier, I should say they were taking reservations. I don't know if there are any left, so they may already be fully booked
Oh, were they
for
taking
demos.
them for Singapore as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
same for Singapore. But you will be able to experience this headphone. The ATH AWKG, absolutely worth a look.
Audio-Technica will also be showing off a new limited edition headphone at their exhibit, which you should absolutely check out. It's called the Audio-Technica WB Ltd or WB Limited. Now, this headphone may require a little bit of a history lesson. So back in 2022, Audio-Technica released the ATH WB 2022, and that was a limited edition wireless headphone celebrating 60 years of Audio-Technica. The demand was so high for a wired version that they immediately kicked off development for the WB Limited. The WB Limited includes a new 45mm HD driver, which is based on the driver in that WB 2022, but this one tuned specifically for wired use. It has a DLC-coded diaphragm, features a high-purity 7-in OFC voice coil, and there's a hand-polished 3-layer housing made from flame maple, walnut, and mahogany woods. This thing is absolutely gorgeous in the photos. It comes with sheepskin earpads and a sheepskin headband, and there's a fold-flat swivel design. Now, only 300 of these are being made, so definitely stop by Audio-Technica's exhibit, because this may be the only chance you get to hear it. Now, at CanJam Singapore this year, Zeppelin&Co. will be showing off the Yamaha YH5000 SE headphone, and this is a return to form for Yamaha. It's a return to the headphone scene with a new orthodynamic model. The YH5000 SE features an ultra-lightweight thin-film diaphragm inside of a Japanese-made magnesium housing, fabricated in their Kakegawa factory, which is the same location where they make their grand pianos. A rolled Dutch plain weave stainless steel filter and art-shaped protrusion are also included in the body. 2 earpads come with the system. It's a leather and a suede combination. You get one of each. 3.5mm and 4.4mm cables are included, and it even comes with a full-size aluminum headphone stand, so you get a complete package right out of the box. Now, at CanJam Singapore last year, Zeppelin&Co. wasn't able to get this headphone in time, but at our CanJam New York locations, CanJam London, and CanJam SoCal, there was always a queue to hear this, so definitely stop by Zeppelin&Co. to give it a listen. This might be your first chance to try it.
Enhance your CanJam Singapore experience with 6 unique seminars over the 2 days. Seats are limited and sessions won't be repeated, so plan your schedule wisely and arrive early to secure a good seat. Find all seminars in the Ocean 6 room on the 2nd floor. Saturday, April 6th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., Join Constantine Davey, acoustic engineer from USound, for Myths About Measurements. Objective measurements are everywhere in audio. Never before has so much data been so accessible so easily. But is that a good thing? Join Constantine, who you may know better as Oratory 1990, to learn why measurements shouldn't always be trusted, why we should always take measurements with a sizable grain of salt, why we should never treat them as absolutes, and how objective measurements are often quite subjective. Most importantly, learn what's being done to address these flaws to achieve better clarity for us all moving forward.
Next up, from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., join Rob Watts, digital design consultant for Chord Electronics, for his first of 2 seminars, Digital Isn't. Digital is digital, it's all ones and zeros. Except that no, it isn't. Beyond the fundamentals of the digital to analog conversion process, there are a host of additional factors that can dramatically affect the sound quality of your DAC, and consequently, what you hear through your signal chain. Discover how power supplies, analog devices and circuit design, galvanic isolation, digital cables, and more can dictate your listening experience. But most importantly, learn how sometimes digital isn't.
Rounding out Saturday's seminars from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. is In-Ear Monitor's Masters of the Golden Age with Dr. John Moulton, Ph.D. of Noble Audio, Lee Kwan Min of Elysian Acoustic Labs, Oliver Marino of Visioneers, Hans Japan Vichas of Canper Audio, and Joseph Mu of Jomo Audio and Metal Magic Research. Recent advancements in the development of in-ear monitors see us entering a new golden age of IEMs in terms of innovation, performance, and fidelity. Join us to have all your questions answered by our panel of master IEM designers and engineers who encompass a wide range of design philosophies to learn all about how far IEMs have come and, more importantly, where IEMs are going in the future.
On Sunday, April 7th, we start with Critical Listening, How to Judge, with Rob Watts once again from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Many designers use listening tests to improve the design of their products. But since the provenance of recordings are unknown, how can one be sure that genuine improvements are being made so that real progress towards transparent reproduction is being achieved? It is very easy to think that an improvement is actually better when it's worse. Objectively assessing sound quality is key, and this seminar will explain how. This will be followed by a Q&A session when you can ask any question about digital audio.
Continuing on Sunday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., join Constantine Davey, acoustic engineer at USound, for MEMS speakers, what they can and can't do. Loudspeakers have come a long way, and conventional manufacturing techniques are tickling the limits. With the advent of MEMS, new possibilities open up. But what actually is a MEMS speaker? How many different types are there? In this seminar, we'll learn which limits will be expanded with this technology and which limits still stand. Learn about applications for these speakers and whether or not they will replace conventional speakers.
To close out our CanJam Singapore seminars, join Hugh Trung Tran, CEO and lead engineer at Saronic Hearing Company Limited, for Unlocking the Potential of MEMS Speakers, a New Frontier for Audiophiles, from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. While MEMS speakers seem to offer significant benefits over traditional drivers, like faster response times, higher resolution, compact size, and more, implementing them presents designers and engineers with substantial challenges. Driving MEMS speakers requires entirely new approaches, which have hindered their adoption in the audiophile space. Hugh will outline the complexities and obstacles of implementing and tuning MEMS speakers for real-world products, examine early attempts at implementing MEMS drivers in audiophile applications, and explore the remaining challenges that confront designers and engineers as we strive to deliver on the promising potentials of MEMS technology. Again, these seminars can fill up quickly, so plan your schedule accordingly to see the ones you want to see, and get there a little early to secure a seat.
Now, the Singapore community is obviously a more IEM-centric community.
They are, yeah.
And as we move into electronics now, we're going to be talking about portables, desktop, DACs, amps, DAC amps, DAPs, and most everything on that table, most everything, is extremely well suited to driving IEMs in terms of low noise or effectively no noise performance with even the most sensitive IEMs.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start with one that isn't a no-noise device, with the FIO CP13. This is a cassette player, and I really believe that most people today haven't actually heard a cassette.
I'm sure a lot of people haven't.
Yeah, exactly. So I know this is an homage, I think, to the old Sony Walkman.
I feel that way, yeah.
And I think in our community, when you say Sony Walkman, everybody thinks of a gold-colored digital audio player, a portable digital audio player. But a Walkman was a cassette player in the old days, in my era. And it is purely analog. I know most of you probably know this, so I don't mean to be patronizing, but just in case you didn't know, it's purely analog. My 19-year-old son said to me, if it's not digital, then how does it work?
Yeah.
Try explaining that to someone. So it is not a no-noise thing.
Right.
It's not the fault of the player. It's the format.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you can find any cassettes or if you own any cassette albums. If you do, bring them to FIO's exhibit so that you can listen to maybe music you're familiar with. Otherwise, I'm not sure what FIO will have there to listen to.
Right.
But the CP13 is a can't miss. If you want just to listen to a really fun throwback product, it's funny because it's fun and kitschy, but yet you get the sense from its build and how well it works that it is, in fact, they took this seriously in making a cassette player.
They really did.
Yeah. And it has cool things that we're not used to, like a USB-C input.
Which is very nice to have.
Yeah, a USB-C input to charge it. It is not a digital input. Remember, it's not a DAC. This is purely analog. Don't miss the CP13 anyway at FIO's exhibit. Now, switching gears completely.
Yep.
We're going to go from a hissy cassette player to something that is maybe FIO's one of their most advanced products to date.
Yeah, we're changing gears. It's like 40 years of innovation. We just take a massive jump right there.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, so it is. It's like we've gone from cassettes, jumped 40 years. You've witnessed a 40-year time leap. We're going to talk about the FIO K19, which is so new. It's not even on their website yet.
Right.
And so we don't have a manual for it yet either, which we're going to get to in a second.
Yep.
The FIO K19 is that tall thing you see at the end of the table. It is a DAC amp. It's more than that. For me, it's a DAC amp. And it is, in my estimation, a sort of shot over the bow from FIO of other DAC amps from the region that are known for being exceptional measurement performers.
Yeah.
Now, the K19 we both love. I love the way it's built. I love the way it sounds. I love its functionality, at least all the things that we can use on it without the manual. On the DAC side, it's built around dual ES9039 MS Pros. And the amp is THX AAA 788 Plus 2. It's a dual THX AAA 788 Plus for a total of 8 watts, maximum out 8 watts into 32 ohms.
Yeah.
So it has serious drive.
It does.
And I've used it with the Abyss AB1266 5TC. Drove it really well. But I was very excited that I could change gain setting on it and use even the most sensitive IEMs.
Right.
IEMs that have a tendency, like some from Campfire Audio, the Sony IER M9 is another one, that can dive into the noise floor of other amps with more noise. With these, they're effectively dead silent. And so for that, I'm very excited. Now, my use case for it is very simple.
Yes.
I use it as a DAC amp. You use it a little more with slightly different applications in addition to that.
Yeah, I basically use it as a full multimedia control. So I run all kinds of things through it, whether it be like my PlayStation at my small desk. You can hook it up to a television because it has ARC for HDMI, and you can run Netflix or any kind of streaming app from the television, run it out to this for headphone use. You could also connect that, in theory, to an integrated surround sound system, or if you wanted to get full application that way. For me, though, primarily, it's just a command center at my desk. It runs everything through it. All the connections I need are there, ins and outs, and I don't need to worry about any other things. It's just right in between my two monitors, and that's all it is.
You're so much more versatile than me. For me, it's a DAC amp. So and in either of these cases, because you seem very satisfied with it in all those roles.
Oh, yeah.
I am extremely satisfied with it as a DAC amp, and it's exceptional in that regard. So I just want to say really quickly, since you mentioned HDMI, it has USB-C, optical, coaxial HDMI with our BT 5.0, Bluetooth 5.0, with Bluetooth, SBC, AAC, aptX, aptX HD, and LDAC. Dual power supply. And it has integrated DSP with, I believe, a 31-band parametric EQ. And this
I believe that's the number.
Yeah, I think so. This is where the lack of a manual kind of hurts us a little bit.
It does.
Because we can see the EQ presets, but we're not sure how to expand beyond that.
Exactly.
But otherwise, we've been able to figure it out. And so the K19 to me is so new and so good that, that's a can't miss.
Now, I want to take a second to talk about something that we have talked about in the past. We talked about the FIO R9 in the CanJam New York preview video, but it will be at CanJam Singapore. And the R9 shares a lot of similarities with the K19. So, for example, they're both based on ESS DACs. The R9, though, is the ES9038 Pro, and it shares the same amp circuit. It is the THX AAA 788 Plus, but it doesn't have as much power as the K19. This one does 7.3 watts versus the 8 watt system there, but it's similar technology inside. So just like you were saying with the K19, it is dead quiet, and it can drive some really demanding headphones with authority. It is wonderful in that regard. But the real big standout feature, and I say big, first of all, is that screen. It's a 6-inch display because this is an all-in-one, fully self-contained system. You can use it as a media server, but you can also use it as a desktop DAP. You don't need to connect to anything else. Just set it on the surface, plug in your headphones, and you're ready to go. It's got a full-size SD card in the back, so you can run it straight into with your whatever library you have. I think there's some built-in storage as well. And it's got a really cool finish. I don't know if you guys have seen it in person before because it is still relatively new, but it's got this really nice mirror shine to it. They call it a classic metallic bicolor finish, and it is beautiful. I mean, it's mirror shine.
I think it takes 11 distinct steps of finishing to get that shine.
Yeah, that's just insane.
Yeah.
You're a big fan of the LEDs. I'd rather leave them, but
I know,
it's nice to have them.
Yeah, you turn them off.
But I do turn them off right
I like
away.
them.
They're distracting to me. But like the K19, pretty much it's a plethora of input and output, so pretty much anything you could possibly want to have. So USB-C, coax, optical, HDMI. It does have LAN. It supports Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5.0. This one has Bluetooth 5.1, whereas the K19 is only a 5.0.
Okay.
And then it has coax, optical, HDMI outputs. So if you are connecting like the K19 to a media system or a console or your TV system or whatever, it's got plenty of connections for that. And, again, SBC, AAC, aptX, aptX low latency, aptX HD, aptX adaptive, and LDAC. So wireless, you're fully set with pretty much everything but a couple of options that just came out.
Right.
And I mean, it even has remote control, so you can just control it from across the room. It's wonderful. It's an upgrade to the R7. So if you heard the R7, definitely listen to the R9. It's worth checking out for sure.
Yeah. Now, again, like with the K19, our use cases are different.
They are.
You use more of all those other connectivity features. And for me, it is pretty much a DAC amp.
Yeah.
And it's also, what's cool is that something that the K19 can't do. It's a standalone DAP.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a desktop DAP. So if you're using it with a computer, you don't have to use it with a computer. You can use it that way. Or you can use it standalone and just play through its screen, which is really nice too. And I do use it in that mode as well. So that's how I use the R9. You use it more extensively.
Yeah.
And to me, just both of these products, the K19 and the R9, are just absolute can't miss items.
I have something sad to tell you. Unfortunately, this next product that I was so looking forward to hearing was destroyed on the way here. So FIO released a pair of active speakers that are designed to be paired with the R7 and the R9. It's called the SP3. And unfortunately, before it made its way here, Customs got their hands on it, decided to open up the box. And I use that term lightly. They shredded the box.
Shredded the box.
They cut straight through it.
They didn't even use, the normal way you open the box, the flaps.
They
cut the front open with a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they destroyed one of the speakers. Specifically, I believe it was the left channel.
Right.
The cone is shattered. So we didn't get a chance to hear this. It is so depressing, but it will be at CanJam Singapore, so you'll have a chance to hear it there. Give you a quick rundown the specs, since we didn't have a chance to listen to it, but it is a high-fidelity active speaker with a 3.5-inch carbon fiber midwoofer, a 1-inch silk tweeter. It features a TI power amplifier with 30x2 and 10W/2 power output. I'm not exactly sure how that worked out, but it also has an asymmetrical internal and external magnetic circuitry and directional acoustic waveguides. They say there's a double diffused S-shaped porting tube on it, and to match with the R9, it has the LED lighting effects.
Which I would use, and you probably would not.
I would turn them off immediately.
Right. And I'm sure it's durable, but it just cannot withstand being attacked by a knife-wielding customs agent.
Yeah, no, not at all. So definitely check out the SP3 while you're at FIO's exhibit.
Now, going back to FIO's portable gear, and not a cassette player, something still in the highly advanced realm.
Right.
So new, in fact, that I don't believe this is on their website yet either.
No, it's not.
It's the FIO M23 digital audio player, portable DAP. And I think it's going to replace the FIO M11 Plus.
It will, yes.
I think it has a nearly identical form factor. So what's the story then? The story for me, and I think this is the M23 story, the DAC is built around AKM's flagship combo DAC, the AK4191 EQ plus AK4499 EX. By the way, its amp is a 4-channel THX AAA 78 Plus with up to 1,000 milliwatts at 32 ohms in desktop mode.
Right.
But it's the DAC.
Yeah.
It has AKM's flagship DAC setup in something that is, I think, far more affordable than anything else using that flagship DAC setup.
Significantly, yes.
Yes, and that's the story to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've used it, obviously, and I love it. So it'll drive any in-ear quietly, like any of the top-tier DAPs.
Yeah.
It'll drive any in-ear quietly. If you're one of those DAP aficionados who tends to prefer the AKM sound and the AKM flagship sound, now you can have an option that will be, or soon you'll be able to have an option, that will be more affordable than any other such DAP using that setup. So M23 is another can't miss at FIO's exhibit.
Now, there's another product category in the portable space that we haven't touched on yet, and that's portable dongles, whether it be self-powered via internal battery or externally powered via your phone or device. Dongles have really blown up the past several years. It feels like they've just kind of exploded on the scene. So many good options are out there right now. One of them has been getting a lot of talk the past, I'd say, past year or so-ish. Because we first heard about the Questyle CMA18 at CanJam London last year. It was an early prototype. And then at each subsequent CanJam in the impressions thread after the event, you're always seeing, hey, have you heard that CMA18? Have you heard the CMA18? And each thread, there's more and more people asking. They get out there, they share their thoughts. It's a wonderful device. So let's touch on it real quick here. The CMA18 is a self-powered Bluetooth DAC amp combo capable of 10 hours of playtime. And inside you'll find the AKM AK4493 DAC, which does, PCM 76832, DSD 512, kind of the standards there for them. But it also features Questyle's high energy current mode amplifier. There are 4 sets of their patented self-developed current mode amplification chips inside of this. And each of those chips develops a peak power of up to 5 watts and peak current of 2 amp. So there's a lot of driving power in that little tiny system. If you think about the old Questyle current mode amplifiers, they were pretty big. They've really shrunk it down to a fantastically small package. It is wonderful. It sounds excellent. And there's actually a feature in this that I don't think a lot of people know exists. So I'll get to that in a second. But for inputs, you've got, USB-C, optical and Toslink, Bluetooth, 3.5 millimeter and 4.4 millimeter inputs. And that's where it's interesting. Outputs, you have your standard 3.5 and 4.4 millimeter for the headphone. Now, what most people don't realize is this isn't just a portable DAC amp combo. It's also an ADC. It's an analog to digital converter. So that 3.5 millimeter and 4.4 millimeter input, you can use those to record external sources, and you can live monitor via the 4.4 millimeter headphone jack. Now, the recordings are limited to 48 kilohertz 32-bit, but that's still, you have so much headroom in there for a lot of recording. Plenty of options. And it's nice to have that functionality if you need it on the go, or if you just want a nice, small, little compact system, as long as you've got the external connections to run into it. And then, for Bluetooth, you do your SBC, AAC, aptX HD, and LDAC. So you've got a lot of the common standards that you really want to have in a Bluetooth device like this.
Yeah, this is actually the very first I heard, so you sprung a surprise on me. I did not know it did the ADC recording thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is a first.
Yeah.
So the CMA18 for me, that's a functionality I'm not likely to use, but I'm sure you will.
Oh, if the need arrives, I love to have that option.
Yeah, for me, I use it as a DAC amp, a dongle DAC amp.
Yep.
It is self-powered, like you mentioned, which is a big deal for me. And I love the way it sounds.
Yeah.
And despite all that drive you mentioned earlier, it's still quiet within ears. So that's lovely. Now, I want to just quickly say Questyle was the company that they showed me that dongle DACs had come a long way.
Yeah, they have.
From like the first generation of dongles, which is kind of what I was more used to for dongles. Mm-hmm. And those were fine for the time, but they've gotten so much better since, and I didn't realize that. So at CanJam London last year, they handed me a Questyle M15, which is a dongle DAC that's powered by a phone, so or whatever device you plug it into, really.
Right.
And that is still a dongle that people should check out at Questyle's exhibit. Still a current model. And that one was the one that showed me how far dongle DACs had come. I plugged it into my Samsung Galaxy, and it turned it into a fully capable DAP.
Yeah.
And I was so excited about that I was like, what else has come out since? And like you said, there's so much in the category, and Questyle with the M15 that I just mentioned, and obviously the CMA18, absolute can't miss.
At CanJam Singapore this year, you'll be able to try new releases from iBasso. Now, iBasso will be found at Zeppelin & Co.'s exhibit, and they're bringing 2 new models which I think could potentially be standouts of the show. The first is the PB5 Osprey. The PB5 Osprey is a portable balanced tube amplifier featuring dual Korg NuTube 6P1 tubes. It has a 24-position 4-section stepped attenuator and outputs 1.7 watts into 32 ohms. It also has a 2-step suspension system to reduce microphonics. Now, the PB5 is often shown in photos paired with iBasso's portable players, like the DX260. The iBasso DX260 features the CS43198 DAC system, but it has 8 DACs inside for an octo DAC chip matrix. It'll output PCM32768 or DSD256, and it has an FPGA Master 2.0 audio system controller. Inside, you'll also find Qualcomm 660 SoC. Outside, you'll find a sharp 5-inch IPS full-screen display. It has Bluetooth 5.0, Android 11, and a removable back cover so users can swap out the battery. Again, definitely stop by Zeppelin & Co.'s exhibit, check out iBasso's latest gear, and let us know what you think.
You know, I just realized something, Brian.
What's that?
There are actually 3 different kinds of VU meters.
3?
Yeah, the default is this one.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize there were 2 others. Anyways, I won't show you them now. You can look at them later, but they're pretty cool. So anyways, the VU meters that this is on a DAP that I would say maybe is the most exciting DAP for me personally, maybe in the history of DAPs.
Really?
Yes, I mean that. So it's the Astell&Kern SP3000T. T stands for tube. And they had the SP2000T. They still have it.
They do.
That had Korg new tubes in it. And those are tubes.
Yeah, they are.
But these have tubes.
Yeah.
These have dual Raytheon JAN or JAN 6418 mil-spec vintage vacuum tubes. And the sound that they give, the sound signature they give this, even with IEMs, which is a big, huge deal for me, is that of a fantastic tube system. What does that mean? Rich harmonics, holographic imaging, rich in tone, in a beautiful way. And I love that about this thing. And you can hybridize it. So you can go to the pure op-amp mode, like with the SP2000T, or pure tube mode, or hybridize in between them at varying levels. But you can also control current, which is a setting that I don't think was in the SP2000T.
I don't recall seeing that.
Anyway, so what's the big deal? With in-ears, I can't think of anything else I can plug an in-ear into, like a sensitive in-ear into, that can reasonably give me a tube sound without a noise compromise.
Right.
With this, again, it's quiet. But now if I hit it or put it on a desk, you'll hear a ring, but that ring dies down pretty quickly, so they've damped that pretty well. And I can't think of anything else like it. And now I want to also talk about its DAC really quickly so that you understand it's also very capable as a DAP from the digital side. The DAC is built around AKM's flagship DAC setup. So the AK4191 EQ and 4499EX. Great implementation of it.
Yeah, it is.
Also, it's equipped with a Snapdragon 6125 octa-core processor with 8 gigs of DDR4 memory, which means it is fast. It boots up fast. The UI is fast.
Yes.
That is very important to me, that I can just kind of flip through a list and it responds instantly. And that I dig too. But the tubes are the big deal for me. So I've used it, of course, as a DAP. Carry it around. I've got a tube system wherever I go. Although recently I've also started using it with something else we're going to be talking about shortly, that Thrax amp. So I've used it with the Thrax amp as the source and essentially the preamp and DAC for the Thrax in tube mode. So it's like a tube front end for the Thrax, which has also been fun. I love the SP3000T. So do not miss this at CanJam Singapore. Now I should mention that Astell&Kern's gear will be at the AV1 exhibit at CanJam Singapore.
Yes, it will.
Now, another DAP that I'm really excited about is Astell&Kern's SE300. Now, the SE300's claim to fame, if you will, is the fact that it uses a fully discrete 24-bit R-to-R DAC.
Yes.
I love that they do this. So you have the tube stuff, but now if you want to hear an R-to-R DAC, that's another thing. There are a lot of R-to-R DAC aficionados on HeadFi in the HeadFi community. And so if you haven't heard an R-to-R DAC and you want to hear a really good R-to-R implementation in a DAP, the SE300 is a wonderful way to do that.
It is.
Now, one more Astell&Kern DAP I want to talk about very quickly, and they're going to have all of them, I think, at the AV1 exhibit at CanJam Singapore.
I think so.
But I want to talk about, just very briefly, the Astell&Kern Con Ultra.
Yeah.
What a wonderful little, well, not so much little.
It's kind of chunky.
DAP. And the reason that it's kind of chunky, it's kind of like a desktop system, like a desktop DAC amp.
Right.
But miniaturized.
Yeah.
So if you look at it that way, not so chunky. But anyways, so it even has separately configured circuit and amplifier design. So on the top panel, you'll see there's a separate headphone out and then pre-out, line-out section. So they separate those. Now, it is built around the ES9039M Pro dual DACs. It has an octa-core processor, so it's pretty darn snappy. Up to, I think, 16 volts RMS on the headphone output. So it has some juice.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's an Astell&Kern DAP. It's quiet with in-ears. You can drive over ears with it. And it's just a lovely little system for your desk or on the go if you don't mind carrying it.
Right.
It has an 8,400 milliamp hour battery for up to 11 hours of playback. So for all the juice, you still get good playback time from that big battery. So the Astell&Kern Con Ultra is another can't miss DAP at AV1's exhibit.
Now, just before CanJam New York earlier this month, at least as of time of filming here, Hi-Fi Man sent over a package that we were not expecting. And inside it contained 2 desktop DAC amp combos, the EF499 and the EF500. Now, the part that's surprising to me is that both of these, and they're very affordable, both are R-to-R systems. So the EF499 contains a non-Hi-Fi Man R-to-R DAC, which I believe you were saying previously was based on Philips.
I think it's a Philips R-to-R.
It's a Philips system, yeah. And then the EF500 actually has Hi-Fi Man's Himalaya DACs. Now, I've been spending more time with the Hi-Fi Man EF499, but they describe in their text as it being remarkably close to that of Hi-Fi Man's reference Himalaya DACs. And I've spent more time with the Himalaya in other products, and that is a good description. It is remarkably close. It's not exactly the same, but it's also very affordable.
Very affordable.
And if somebody wants to get a taste of the Himalaya DAC without breaking the bank, the EF500 has that, which is the Hi-Fi Man Himalaya LE. Now, these two share a lot of similarities. The power is very close. The 499 puts out 4.35 watts into 32 ohm. The EF500 puts out 4.5 watts into the same. And because the EF500 has the Himalaya DAC system, you do get some better performance. So better SNR, better THD plus in.
Right.
There's a feature on both of these that I think people will want to be checking out as well. So the Himalaya and the other R-to-R system both have oversampling and non-oversampling modes, and you can switch between the two with a switch. And it has a high gain and low gain for both. So whether you have high gain headphones or low gain headphones, you can try both side by side, which I think is a fantastic way to experience oversampling versus non-oversampling head to head without having to change out components in your system.
Now, the Hi-Fi Man EF499 and EF500 are affordable R-to-R DACs,
Yes,
or
they are.
DAC amps.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to hear Hi-Fi Man's pinnacle R-to-R DAC
Mhm.
architecture, you got to listen to the EF1000 DAC
Right.
from Hi-Fi Man. Now, we haven't confirmed it'll be there, but I expect it will be. And if it's there, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
So the Hi-Fi Man EF1000 DAC is the highest realization of their proprietary, self-developed Himalaya DAC architecture, R-to-R DAC architecture.
Mhm.
If you're an R-to-R DAC enthusiast, you may remember the PCM 1704K. Hi-Fi Man points out that 4 Himalaya Pros, because there are 4 Himalaya Pros in a fully balanced quad Himalaya Pro DAC configuration, 4 Himalaya Pros outperform 4 PCM 1704Ks by a significant margin in terms of channel separation, signal-to-noise ratio, THD. Now, to show off their pinnacle DAC configuration, they've also built a formidable amp.
Mhm.
And it outputs up to 13.7 watts into 32 ohms. It uses Hi-Fi Man's discrete op-amp configuration, high-end AC coupling capacitors, quad-paired output transistors, and there's a step potentiometer volume control. All I'll say is this thing is a beaut
Mhm.
for driving the Susvara or anything else from Hi-Fi Man. I'm guessing if they have it there, they'll let you plug in your own headphones too. So if you have headphones you want to hear with that, ask them to listen to it. But that sounds like a pinnacle level R-to-R DAC.
Yeah.
And that is a can't miss at Hi-Fi Man's exhibit at CanJam Singapore for sure.
I'll go ahead and say it now. Yes, you will be able to audition the Zale HM1 at CanJam Singapore this year. The HM1 is a headphone amplifier that I first heard ahead of CanJam SoCal in past years, and I fell in love with it immediately. You'll be able to find it at CanJam Singapore in the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit. The Zale HM1 is a pure Class A headphone amplifier with a Class A and Class A Plus servo system. That servo system adds negative feedback to correct for errors between the amplifier and the headphones. It has a consistent dual mono layout, 2 input sources with independent gain settings, which means precision level matching for A/B swaps. You can do a hard switch or a gentle crossfade, and it has a built-in 2-band EQ with fixed frequencies. Headphone outputs are 4-pin XLR and 6.35mm, and only 50 of these are made every single year. Now, I can count on one hand the number of places where I know you can audition this headphone amplifier, and Zeppelin & Co. is one. Definitely stop by their exhibit at CanJam Singapore, give the Zale HM1 a listen, find out why it's such a fantastic amplifier.
So, Brian, a couple weeks ago, you put this black brick, an elegant looking brick.
Yeah.
But you put this brick on my desk, said, go ahead and use it. Let me
did.
know what you think.
Yep.
I said, what is it? You said it's an amp only, literally an amp only.
Yeah, this one comes from Headphone Auditions Amsterdam. It's called the HAA by Thrax Audio Resolute, and it is just a pure amplifier stage. That is it.
That is it. And HAA is Headphone Auditions
Auditions
Amsterdam.
Yep.
Thrax is who makes it for them
Correct.
in
Yeah.
this collaboration. Okay.
Yep.
No volume control, you notice.
Correct.
That's because there's no volume control.
No toggles, no switches,
Yeah,
nothing on the
3
outside.
jacks, that's it.
Yeah.
Power, because it is wall power only,
Mhm.
no battery. 4.4 millimeter input, 4.4 millimeter output.
Yep.
And you told me it's set to high gain mode. There are
Yep.
2 gain settings.
Mhm.
High gain mode so that you can drive the hardest to drive headphones that we
Yep.
have. And Headphone Auditions Amsterdam actually specifically mentions the Susvara.
Yeah, it was voiced with the
AB1266.
AB1266, yeah.
Yeah, so the AB1266 and the Susvara are specifically mentioned. It was voiced
Yes.
using the AB1266. I plug in the AB1266, Phi TC. Thunderous.
Yeah.
Beautifully impactful. I mean, super physical. And I'm like, what? You know, I was super impressed.
Yeah.
So, because you hear the claims, you know, it can drive the Abyss well. No, this one drives it really well. Now, Stefan actually from Headphone Auditions Amsterdam actually says he prefers it in low gain mode, which we haven't tried yet.
Okay.
He said he likes it in low gain mode with the Abyss because the bass is a bit more tame.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I've only heard it in high gain mode and I love it. I don't want to sacrifice that. I mean, I'll try it in low gain mode eventually, but I love the way it sounded in high gain mode. All right, so I plug in the Susvara. Once again, another headphone for which we've heard a lot of claims.
Mm-hmm.
Can drive it well. Plug that in. Again, beautiful extension, beautiful bass presence, richness, and the detail that I love from Susvara. So then I try another headphone while it's in high gain mode, which is the only mode I've used. I try the Headphone 2 by Head Audio because it's a headphone that I'll often EQ bass into with the bass shelf. Not always, but often will do. Plug it into this in high gain mode. Again, richness. It honestly, it's a beautiful sounding amp with those 3 headphones.
Right.
Now, Stefan did say, we had a quick FaceTime call with him, and he did say that for most headphones, so unless you're driving the Susvara or the AB1266, you're probably going to want to use low gain mode. And it'll drive most headphones and IEMs, which is important for the Singapore audio community for sure, for the IEM side. And you need a preamp, but you guys, again, already have it with your DAPs.
Yeah.
So your volume control is on the DAP side.
Mm-hmm.
You plug it in here, and that's your preamp. And it's beautiful. So I've used it with the SP3000T.
Right.
How fun is that? Because with that, you put it in pure tube mode.
Yep. And
you have like a tube front end for this thing. I love it. So anyways, this was a surprise for me. One of my biggest surprises of all the stuff that was sent for the CanJam Singapore preview. Headphone Auditions Amsterdam will have their own exhibit. Like you said, they're coming from Amsterdam, which I love. Really, mostly to show this off.
Yeah.
So check it out. So we go from one quirky amp to another.
We do.
But this one at least has a volume control.
Yeah.
But it won't drive a Susvara. I wouldn't use it to drive a Susvara.
No, of course not.
This one is the Maskobo 475. Maskobo has a cult following for understandable reasons once you hear them. So their flagship amp is the 465 desktop amp. Don't know if Zeppelin & Co. will have that one at CanJam Singapore, but everybody that hears the 465 for the most part loves it.
Yes.
And the first experience I had with Maskobo was at in Tokyo at the Fujiya AVIC Festival many years ago.
Yeah.
All right. The 465 I cannot afford. I mean, it's expensive.
Right.
This one I can afford. And the moment I heard it, it brought to bear 465 magic in a small package that I could use and impart on my favorite in-ears.
Yep.
And it's so beautiful sounding as an amp that I can't believe I picked up this quirky amp.
Yeah.
Just for the sound. I heard it. I contacted Masuda-san, had to get one immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm thrilled to have it. So this is a Maskobo I can afford. The 475 is a can't miss. It has a 4.4 millimeter balanced input.
Yeah.
But it's not just balanced. I'm going to let you explain that.
No, that's balanced and single-ended in a single input. There's a toggle on the front, switch between the two. So the 4.4 Pentacon standard, it's compatible with both single-ended and balanced use. And when I first heard about that spec, it was like 2014 or 2015, whenever it was first unveiled. I fell in love with the idea. This is one of the only devices I've seen to implement that design, and I adore it for it.
Yeah, you dig that.
Yeah.
And then it has, of course, 4.4 millimeter output for balanced, but it also has an unbalanced output for headphones as well. There's a high gain and low gain mode for the for a lot of, actually, for some of the in-ears that are not super sensitive, like the Annihilator, for example, from Elysian. I use the normal gain mode and for my headphones. for something more sensitive, like an all-BA design, like the Visioneer's VE10 or a Sony IERM9, I would use low gain mode. And to switch it, it's a bit quirky. You have to take the cover off and flip 4 switches one way or the other. Actually, that's how you.
That sounds familiar.
That's how you do it with the Thorax as well. I didn't mention that earlier.
Pop it open.
So if you want to hear Mascobo magic, if you want to hear an amp that once I heard it, I knew I had to have it, check out at Zeppelin & Co. the Mascobo 475.
Sam Audio is joining us once again for CanJam Singapore, and they're bringing something with them from Topping, which I think is going to be a huge draw. It's called the Topping DX9. Now, the Topping DX9 is a limited edition DAC amp combo featuring the AKM AK4499 EQ DAC. It has a 6-channel discrete NFCA headphone amplifier, and that's nested feedback composite amplifier, with up to 10 watts per channel at 16 ohms. It has a hybrid relay volume control with a resistor and relay-based system, and a dual 2-inch full-color screen setup. It has a plethora of inputs and outputs, and at CanJam SoCal last year, this DAC amp combo had such a fantastic response in the impressions thread following the event, and I have no doubt at CanJam Singapore it's going to be the same.
So one of the things I love about Sony's approach to their flagship DAPs is that they have long lives.
Yeah, they do.
So this is the original Sony Walkman NW-WM1Z.
Yep.
Don't get me started on the names. And this isn't the Mark II. This is the original. And it was their flagship DAP for years.
Yeah, 5 or 6, I think.
Something like that. I think it was launched in 2016. It went to like 2022 or something like that. And they kept it their flagship for a long time, I think because they use their own DAC silicon.
Right.
And when they do that, they don't have to move with the tides of the other DAC chips. They have their own. So anyway, the new one that I think everybody should listen to is the new NW-WM1Z Mark II, the M2. And that has everything that I wanted from the original NW-WM1Z, namely that you can stream with it, for example. It has a bigger screen too.
Yep.
And you can stream with it. So it has Android OS, which I don't think this one did. This
No, that was their own developed
proprietary OS for the original. So the new one has Android OS, so you can stream with it. So it has Wi-Fi, 2.4 gig and 5 gigahertz. Longer battery life, up to 40 hours. It was previously up to 33 hours max on the OG one.
Yep.
Faster charge times. And again, it has the vinyl mode. Something I hope they would continue.
You're also skipping out on one of my favorite features. They ditched the WM port.
Oh, yes.
It's gone.
We couldn't stand. Okay, so this, the OG has the old Walkman port, the old WM port. Now they're using USB-C.
Yep.
So they've modernized that too. So I have spent very little time with the NW-WM1Z2. I love the way the original sounded.
Yeah.
I heard the Mark II briefly, and it sounded like what I wanted from the NW-WM1Z. That is, to be the NW-WM1Z, but to have those modernized features.
Right.
So that, for me, is a can't miss at CanJam. Now, one of the things I wanted to mention in the headphone section, the over-ear section, is a Sony headphone called the MDR MV1. Now, why didn't I mention it in the headphone section? Because we weren't able to confirm with Sony that they would have it for sure.
Yeah, we're not certain.
So I just want to mention it because I'm going to guess they're going to have it.
I hope.
So the Sony MDR MV1 is an open back studio monitor.
Yeah.
You know, their studio monitors have all been closed back, best I can remember.
Right.
I mean, actually, my first good headphone was a Sony MDR V6 a gazillion years ago when it first was launched. That's how old I am. Anyways, so Sony describes the MDR MV1 as having accurate sound object positioning within a 360-degree sound space, lightweight, high-strength aluminum alloy for the housing, detachable machined aluminum connectors for professional use. I heard it briefly at PotaFest last year. That's the e-earphone show in winter of last year. And I will say, I was surprised by it. For an open back headphone, it had nice full sound. And it was a studio monitor sound with nice bass extension and bass presence.
Yeah.
As I remember it. So I don't depend fully on my oral memory. I want to listen to it again at CanJam Singapore. I really hope Sony has it there. I expect they will. That's why I'm mentioning it now.
All right, this next one's going to be a little unexpected, but I'm willing to bet that it's going to be an absolute treat. It's coming from Project, and it's a limited edition Dark Side of the Moon turntable. Just check out some of these photos. It looks so fantastic. Now, this turntable features a precision belt drive, a TD SOTM glass record weight, a unique acrylic tone arm design, and dimmable LED rainbow backlight system. Now, I obviously haven't heard this, but you will be able to find it at the AV1 exhibit, and they're going to be doing exclusive demos, so definitely stop by, get yourself a listen.
Well, we have finally made it to the last stop on this CanJam journey. It is time for in-ears, and we have just a taste here with, I mean, look at how many are on this table, and this is nowhere near everything that'll be at CanJam.
Not even close.
We should probably jump right into it pretty quickly, but CanJam Singapore is kind of like an IEM mecca. So many people travel to CanJam because of the number of IEMs that are there, and I mean, look at the option that we have here. This is like a buffet.
Yeah, you make it sound like we're at the end of the video. It's the last segment, but it'll probably be half the length of the video.
Most likely, yeah.
So we should probably get started.
All right. Given how many in-ears are on this table, I figured we should start with one that you and I both appreciate, and I've spent considerable time with it. So this is the Campfire Audio Fathom. Now, ahead of CanJam New York, I was spending a lot of time with this in our studio during the photo shoots as, you know, unboxing and processing photos for new gear. This has been my trusty companion through a lot of that, and I fell in love with the sound signature pretty much right away. I mean, straight out of the box, it was right up my alley.
Yeah, we both, I mean, our response to it. So it was, I think it launched at CanJam New York last month.
I think that was the first time, yeah.
So we were both, like right away, this is something that we both gravitated to.
Yes.
That doesn't happen terribly often.
Not that frequently, no.
Yeah, because our tastes kind of diverge with a lot of the gear. But
Yep.
for that one of the things I love about the Fathom, and I think we can both appreciate this, is it has its own sound.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't measured it, so I don't really know how it measures or anything like that. But and I don't care. I love the way it sounds.
Yeah.
But it reminds me a little bit. It doesn't sound like a ZMF Atrium. It doesn't sound like a Sennheiser IE900.
No.
You're probably wondering where I'm going. So where I'm going is that the Atrium has its own thing going.
Right.
It doesn't sound like it adheres to me to any target or targets, you know, that, or, you know, and actually I've seen measurements of that one. We've done measurements of that one, so I know what it measures like. It's not a common target.
Exactly.
The IE900, similar thing.
Yeah.
So the similar thing. It's I think the best overall IEM that Sennheiser's made.
Yeah.
And again, it's another. I mean, in the review of the IE900, I spend the first 5 minutes talking about how, again, it doesn't adhere to any specific target other than Sennheiser's target for the IE900.
Yeah, they forged their own path and it paid off.
And that is what I feel like they did with the Fathom.
Mm-hmm.
So no, it doesn't sound unusual or anything, but it has its own sound. And, you know, we both, I guess we should talk about what's in it.
Yeah, probably.
It's an all BA design.
Yes.
So it has dual custom high definition super tweeters, 2 mid-range drivers, dual custom BA woofers. So it's an all BA design, which some of their most popular in-ears have been, namely the Andromeda.
That's the first one that comes to mind.
And to me, this is, I don't know if they intended it as a, you know, any kind of spiritual successor to the Andromeda. Anyways, let's talk about its sound signature.
Yeah.
So to me, it has a pretty, it's very revealing to me.
Yeah.
It has a nice, I love its imaging.
Mm-hmm.
We both commented on that right away.
Yes.
But I find its signature to be a bit more laid back.
It is, and that for me allows me to listen to it for a long period of time because I tend to like more aggressive top end.
Right.
And sometimes after a while that could be too much, and I can listen to this for hours because of that.
Yeah, and it's also not overly smooth.
Yes.
But it is laid back in its tonal balance.
Mm-hmm.
But for that, I dig it. For the same reason, I can listen to it for hours. So this one at CanJam New York, I think in the impressions thread, and I know listening to people talk about it at CanJam,
Mm-hmm.
the Fathom went over very well.
Yes, it did.
So in the impressions thread, I believe it went over very well. I think the water cooler guys like it as well.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a can't miss at Campfire Audio for sure. Now, while at the Campfire Audio exhibit, I would also recommend that people listen to the Supermoon and Cascara.
Yes, for sure.
So the Supermoon's planar magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
The Cascara has a single dynamic driver per side, I believe.
Correct.
And to me, I mentioned that they scored at the CanJam New York preview. In the CanJam New York preview, I mentioned that they both pretty much killed.
They did.
In terms of, I mean that in a good way. That's a term.
Literal
everywhere, right?
murder.
Yeah, it did very well, is what I'm trying to say. On MDACs, multi-dimensional audio quality score, which is the head acoustics metric that we've been using. And anyways, we've done videos about it. Check our channel out.
For sure.
But they both did extremely well on MDACs.
Yes, they did.
Now the Supermoon and the Cascara both have rich signatures. They don't sound alike.
No, they don't.
But I want to focus a little bit more on the Cascara, and I'm going to say why. That one's really affordable.
And it's also a banger value.
It is super duper incredible value. To me, as I mentioned in the CanJam New York preview, and I haven't changed my mind in that time since, it is just one of those best value anythings.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, at its price, it brings such strong performance.
It does.
And Yeah, that's another one I think everybody needs to hear. So if I had to say, I would say Fathom and Cascara. You might prefer the Supermoon, so try that too. And they have other in-ears as well, but the Cascara is so killer. Now, this next pair of IEMs, I want to talk about the 64 Audio Velour. It's going to be at the AV1 exhibit at CanJam Singapore. These, to me, are another can't miss. I fell in love with these before the CanJam Dallas preview. We were preparing for CanJam Dallas preview.
Right.
And I told a big, long story in the CanJam Dallas preview, which we don't have time for here, but I'll make it a long story short. I know that's hard for me. But anyways, long story short, I heard these, and it reminded me, and I mentioned that, of some old loudspeakers that I loved back when I was a teenager, which was like 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
At a hi-fi, I worked at a hi-fi store, and they were called the Lin Isobaric DMS, and they had 2 KEF B139 drivers and an isobaric configuration per side, cone to magnet. And then I find out that this has an isobaric, 2 dynamic drivers per side, not KEF B139s, but anyways, 2 dynamic drivers per side in a cone to magnet isobaric configuration.
Right.
And the bass is so visceral on these, and so textured, and I love the way they present. Now, I'll talk first, I guess, about the driver, I should say, the drivers. So it's a 10-driver hybrid IEM, 2 dynamic drivers in a cone-to-magnet isobaric design, 7 balanced armature drivers, 6 mid, 1 mid-high, 1 TIA balanced armature driver per side for the highs. And those highs are sparkly.
Yes.
And I love the way it all integrates, and you can tune it because there's the 64 Audio Apex modules.
Yeah.
Now, by default, they come with the M15 modules installed. At least these did. I think that is the default. I've tried the other Apex modules. You can give it more bass or less. I always come back to the M15. But I noticed on HeadFi's forums, some people gravitate toward some of the other ones. So try the different Apex modules. But if you want to hear what I think is the best sounding 64 Audio in-ear ever made, and one of the in-ears I listened to the most since it was released, definitely at AV1's exhibit, don't miss the 64 Audio Velour. So earlier this year, I went with a group to go visit Sennheiser's Tullamore, Ireland manufactory.
I'm still jealous about that, by the way.
Yeah, I know. It was a fun trip. And in that group, well, I was there, and Critical was one of the other guys that was there.
Yeah.
And thank you, by the way, Sennheiser. They were such gracious hosts. Thanks for hosting us and being so gracious about us being there. But I talked to Critical at length about the very IEM I'm holding right now. And this is the Kiwi Ears and Critical Singolo.
Okay.
And this, I think, is priced at $79 US. I think that's the price.
Okay.
So silly affordable.
Yeah.
Okay, based on what he described to me. So what he described to me was the Helmholtz resonator design that he and Kiwi Ears, I think, worked on together to tune the bass shelf that this thing has. So there was a lot of talk of bass shelf. All right, so let me read it what it is. It's called Cars Technology. I should mention first, this is a single driver dynamic design.
Okay.
So the Cars Technology is Kiwi Acoustic Resonance System. Okay. Using a Helmholtz resonator to regulate its tuning as opposed to resistor capacitor networks. It's a labyrinthine tubing network, a discrete bandpass filter that manipulates airflow to the driver, regulating low-frequency output. This is what makes the tight sub-bass shelf possible, which they say wasn't possible before in a single-driver IEM. I guess I should have paid attention to that tight sub-bass shelf.
Okay.
So with all the talk of sub-bass shelf with Critical, I was expecting it to be bassier.
I would too.
So I thought it was going to be really heavy, like really heavy tonal balance. It is not. I find this to be quite neutral. In fact, so you can hear the shelf, very well applied, a lot of extension, so there's good slam. But in terms of level of bass, I would say it's perceived flat to me. Again, there's a big difference between measuring flat and what I would say is perceived flat.
Right.
And I would say it's almost right down the middle of my preference for bass level, and maybe even just, a hair less.
Okay.
Yeah. So at the price, I don't even know what to say about this. It's probably one of the best value IEMs that I've come across in a long time. $79. And I would say its overall balance is more neutral. There's some sparkle up top with certain tracks and certain types of instruments. So there's some feature of its tonal balance that sometimes emphasizes that, but not in a way that I find offensive at all. It's actually quite nice.
Well, you're describing a lot of things that I like.
Yes, I think you like it because to me, I would say it sounds kind of like a studio monitor.
Okay.
Now, I will mention that in terms of fit, the stock tips didn't fit me very well.
All right.
So I had a little bit of a fit issue. But then I swapped out the tips for the Elatech Baroque tips, and that fixed it right up. Easy fit, easy insertion, no issues with the single anymore. So for me, this will be at the Linsole exhibit for $79. This is just one of those things you can buy on a whim.
Right.
And then you end up with a studio monitor type in-ear that I actually really enjoy the sound of. This is the Hi-Fi Man Svanar Wireless. The significance to both of us, because we both have a pair,
Right.
is that it's the most resolving true wireless earphone we've heard so far.
Exactly.
Now, I think the reason for that is Hi-Fi Man's approach to designing it. I've talked about this in other preview videos. They took a system approach. Like they designed it as a miniature hi-fi system that's in a true wireless form factor. So, for example, we don't really talk about DACs in the context of any other true wireless in-ear that I can think of.
Can't think of a single one.
But for this, it's critical to talk about because they use their Himalaya R2R DAC architecture. Yes, there's an R2R DAC in this system.
Yep.
They focus on the driver with the topology driver, the same driver they're using in their top-of-the-line wired in-ears. And then they focused on really a high-quality amplification.
Right.
And so, again, it's like a miniature hi-fi system in a true wireless form factor. And for that reason, I think that's one of the reasons it's just so resolving.
Oh, no doubt.
Now, as far as its sound signature goes, its tonal balance, and I think you agree with me here, I would say as true wireless earphones go, it's on the neutral side.
Yeah, it is.
For me, on the treble side, it doesn't cross my threshold, but it's at the top of my treble threshold.
Sure.
For neutrality, for you, I would say it's probably right down the middle since you like a little more than I do.
It is, yes.
Okay. So we agree that it's neutral.
Yeah.
I mean, as true wireless earphones go, for sure.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to also talk about its MDAC score just because, I have it.
Yes.
And it did really, really well.
Yes, it did.
So I think this might be the best overall when you look at all the dimensions of any of the in-ears or true wireless in-ears we've tested.
Still really, wow.
I think so, yeah.
Nice.
So its timbre score, Moss timbre, mean opinion score timbre, 4.9. Moss immersiveness, 4.2. This is out of 5. Distortion 4.5, which is I think the highest we've seen so far.
I think that
and
might
that's
be.
a good thing. It's like the high score, higher is better. And its overall score 4.9. So when you look,
awesome.
Yes, it is awesome. And when you look at all those, yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. But it's not just the Svanar Wireless Hi-Fi Man will have at their exhibit. There are two siblings to this one, the Svanar Wireless LE and the Svanar Wireless Junior. Now, the LE uses Hi-Fi Man's Himalaya LE DAC, which I believe is a slightly less performant DAC compared to the full Himalaya. However, it does save you some money, and I think also it may be a little less premium on the finish.
Okay.
But it's here in the U.S., I think it's $200 less. So it's a really good savings there. And then they have the Hi-Fi Man Svanar Wireless Junior, which it doesn't have an R2R DAC inside. I think it's just a traditional Delta Sigma, but that one gets you an extra hour of battery life, and it's highly affordable. So if somebody's looking to try out Hi-Fi Man's true wireless without actually jumping all the way to the Svanar Wireless first, that Junior is a perfect place to start.
Yeah, I haven't heard either of those yet. So
Neither have I.
yeah, so I'll definitely go to Hi-Fi Man's exhibit. I want to check them all out.
Now, this is the FIO FA19. This is an in-ear that arrived not too long ago, and as we were preparing for this CanJam preview video, you handed it to me and said, take a listen. I think your request was to keep it in the switch down
Yeah,
position.
start with the switch down position.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I just want to first of all say thank you.
Yep.
This is a lovely experience. And as I was listening to it, over and over, there was one word that just kept circling back into my mind. And that word is refinement.
Yeah.
So the sound itself feels refined, and it also feels like it's a refinement of FIO's in-ear monitors as a whole.
Yes. So they've been making in-ear monitors for quite some time now.
They have.
And they've had some hits and misses.
Yeah.
But for me. And so if you were to plot my, based on my preferences, kind of like how they've been doing, it's been, and you average through it, it's been trending up.
Yeah.
Good. So this, though, I'm just going to read my notes because this one to me is their best IEM by margin.
Okay.
So I said, not only is the FA19 the best IEM I've heard from FIO, it is, in my opinion, their official entry into the high-end IEM territory where some of the community's most dedicated IEM enthusiasts play. Bravo, FIO. Those were in my notes as I'm listening to it.
That makes total sense.
So did I talk about what's in them?
Not yet.
Okay, so it's a 10 balanced armature design. So it's an all BA design. 10 BAs per side. Custom Knowles compound bass balanced armature times 2, so that's 4 bass drivers. 2 Knowles BAs for the mids. Knowles SWFK compound treble balanced armatures times 2, so a total of 4 treble balanced armatures. And then there's 2 switches.
Right.
Well, there's 1 switch on each side. In the down mode, it's monitor mode to make the sound clear and get great extension in the treble part from the notes from FIO.
That sounds accurate, yeah.
Yeah, then when you turn them up, it increases the bass. They call that hi-fi mode. customer can get more bass. Simple description there, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
From what I'm hearing, it seems to be increasing the bass in a mild way, but it's in enough of the shelf is, it trails off enough to have enough energy in there, maybe into the lower mids.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure, but it's noticeable. But I would still say on balance, kind of mild.
Mm-hmm.
In monitor mode, it's exactly that. I think that's a fair word. It sounds like a monitor, a neutral monitor.
Right.
It's well within my range of neutrality, because I've said a zillion times before, neutrality to me with headphones or earphones isn't just a line. It's a range of neutrality, and that's well within it. The treble is probably in monitor mode at or near the top of my preference.
Yeah.
But within it and refined enough that I enjoy it. In hi-fi mode, again, it gets a little richer, but that also, and this kind of brings up the whole discussion of perception and hearing, which is a tricky thing with humans.
It is.
Because it seems to increase the bass, again, maybe trailing off into the lower mids, and that kind of gives, because it shifts the balance now, it makes it almost sound like the treble comes down a bit, but I'm not sure that the treble is actually coming down at all.
Right.
It's just a shift. That's an important thing to discuss, actually. I think we missed that because if we get focused on looking at graphs, right? Okay, Sennheiser HD800, Sennheiser HD800S. What a lot of people don't realize is the reason the HD800S sounds richer and bassier than the HD800 is just because they took that 6K peak down, right?
Right.
If you measure it precisely enough, both of those headphones, which we've done, you will see that their frequency responses are essentially identical from 20 to 20, from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Save for that range between, say, 4K and, say, 7, 8K or whatever, peaking at 6K. That's it. That's the difference. And that makes the HD800S sound richer. So when you flip that switch, it has a shifting that maybe, I don't know, we'll have to plot it, that probably would look different on a graph than it sounds.
Right.
Let me give another example that's very specific to the FA19.
Okay.
I was listening to Alison Russell's. I love Alison Russell. I was listening to Fourth Day Prayer. That's one of her songs. Kind of a rich, some bass and low mid content in that song. Kind of a richer song in terms of tonal, how it sounds. And I decided, because one of my reference IEMs that I was doing a direct comparison to had a little bit better separation, instrument separation. I flipped the bass switches up just to see what happens, and it actually improved the instrument separation when I was listening to Fourth Day Prayer, and then I noticed that with some other songs as well.
Really?
And then with others, I liked it better down. My point is, again, human perception is a tricky thing, but what I do love about the FA19 is it has two very usable signatures, both of which I love. And again, this is Theo's entry into the high-end enthusiasts IEM world.
Right.
So congratulations to Theo. The FA19 is a can't miss. So go to Theo's exhibit and listen to the Theo FA19. I don't care how serious an IEM enthusiast you think you are. It's worth listening to. I told a little bit of a story in the CanJam New York preview about these. It's the Camper CP622Bs.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell it again anyway. So what happened was CanJam London last year, Camper exhibits. They had a very modest exhibit. Let's just say that. Not much in the way, almost no signage.
Right.
And I don't know if that was by choice or by design, but they were modest. And so maybe not one of the busier exhibits. It was a brand new company to me. I had not heard of Camper before. So it was probably near the end of the show. I decide to sit down. I mean, there was nobody there at the time, and listen to something. And I asked, and they put these in my hands, and I listened to their flagship. I think this is
I think so.
Yeah. And I was blown away.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. Like fantastic. These are really, really exceptional.
They are.
And so to me, what's special about them is the mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
The mid-range is rich. It has a lot of body.
Right.
You don't usually use the word meaty for mid-range.
Not generally, no.
It sounds a little mildly creepy. Anyways, is that okay? You know what I'm trying to say.
I get where you're going. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It had flesh. Is that? I mean, it's getting worse. Anyways, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Corporeal. There you go. So the bass though, I was curious when I handed them to you what you'd think of the bass, because I didn't think you were going to find them overly bassy, which sometimes with stuff I like you tend to.
Yeah, it's not overly bassy. It does kind of push the upper limits for me.
Yeah.
However, what they do is very nice in the overall package, and it works quite well.
Yeah, it's. Oh, I guess I should talk about what drivers are in.
Oh yeah,
let's do that.
Good
Oh,
point.
and as the bass goes, I find it to be right. It's in my neutral range.
Yeah.
And it's close to the middle of my neutral range. So I think the bass is right there. So 10 driver tribrid, 6 Sonian balanced armatures, 2 Sonian electrostatic drivers, 2 Sonian bone conduction drivers. And those bone conduction drivers, as I understand it, are mid-band focused, mid-range focused.
Yes. I think mid and mid-high maybe.
Mid-high.
Yeah.
Which we don't usually associate with bone conduction drivers.
Not at all.
Usually we think of bass.
The low end, yeah.
Right. And so these were the first. I think there are now other models that are using mid-range bone conduction
I think
units,
now, yes.
But that was the first that I had listened to something that had it. It has to be a contributing factor here because of what I was creepily describing the mid-range with. But anyways, you get the point. So, and just the overall balance, the ESTs, everything, it has a beautiful signature.
It does.
This, anyways, you're probably getting that this caught me off guard, and it did. The CanPer, if you haven't heard the CP622B, I always forget the letters and numbers.
Yeah.
This is one that I would say one of my stronger recommendations for sure.
Absolutely.
Of the many IEMs that I know will be at CanJam Singapore, this is definitely one of my strongest recommendations.
And they'll be able to find that at the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit.
Yeah, thanks for. Yeah, I should tell you where. Yeah, Zeppelin & Co. will have them.
Now, there's something interesting about that CanPer that we haven't mentioned yet. It comes paired with a custom Socrates cable from Elitech.
Socrates.
And Elitech is a Singapore local, and they're going to be coming out and joining us at CanJam Singapore, so it's nice to have them around.
It is.
And they're going to be showing off this. This is the Ode to Laura. It's one of the flagships in their Parnassus series. And the Ode to Laura is a 22-gauge 4-wire design cable with triple bespoke premium OCC copper blend. It has a quadruple stranding design and 9 interior corelets. And this one also comes with a custom Y-splitter designed by Elitech. Now, they're also showing off 2 new cables. I don't know if I can give too many details, but they were showing off an early prototype of them at CanJam New York earlier this year. And people will be able to actually order these at the show. I believe I'm just going to let Eric announce that when it's time, so definitely check those out at the show for sure.
Yeah, I haven't tried the Ode to Laura yet. The only Elitech cable that I've been using really over the last couple of weeks is the one that's on the CanPer.
Right, exactly.
The Socrates.
Yeah.
I almost said Socrates again. So I am definitely looking forward. I'd actually like to try the Ode to Laura on the CanPer.
That could be a really good pairing, actually.
Now, in addition to the cables, Elitech is also manufacturing a beautiful and growing line of accessories.
They really are.
But the problem for us has been the limited edition nature of it.
Yes.
You and I have had some sad Elitech moments. So they released something called the Elitech Lux Companion Case.
Oh, I loved those.
I wanted one so bad, and it was we just didn't order them fast enough, and so they sold out. Yeah, you like the green one.
The green, the moss was so beautiful.
I wanted the natural tanned one.
Yeah, they were gorgeous.
We missed them.
Yes, we did.
All right, so those weren't the first things we've missed.
Yeah.
But then this came for sale. Sorry, guys, this one's also sold out. But I'm not trying to rub it in your face. I want to just show you how lovely their stuff is. So this is the Elitech Companion Case Cavalry.
Yep.
It's an IEM case, and it is a limited edition. It is sold out, and it's made of kudu leather.
Yes.
Which is an African antelope. And as you all know, I love leather things.
Right.
And I like shoes. And I have a few pair of kudu boots. I love the leather. This is a wax tannage. I think it's called the Cavalry tannage or something like that. And it's a burnished wax antelope leather, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I did not miss these.
No.
They announced them, and I pulled the trigger like within microseconds.
Yeah.
So ordered 2, got them. I'm very excited. I have no idea what accessories Elitech's going to have at CanJam Singapore, but if you ever see their limited edition stuff and you want it, you have to order it quick. They will go quick, but hopefully they'll have some accessories at CanJam Singapore.
And speaking of the accessories, there's another accessory that Elitech manufactures. This one is not limited edition, but it's limited because of the fact that it's constantly going in and out of stock. People are snapping these up as soon as they're available. These are the Elitech Baroque tips. These are ear tips for IEMs. Now, the Elitech Baroque tips, they are made of Japanese medical-grade silicone, and they're a hypoallergenic material. And these are ones that people are constantly clamoring to get their hands on.
I actually picked those up, and I picked up several boxes at E-Earphone, the store in Tokyo, when I was there for PotoFest last December. And Elitech was at the show.
Yeah.
And they saw me coming in with my my bag from E-Earphone.
Yep.
And Eric Chong from Elitech was like, "What did you buy?" And I opened it up. There's a bunch of ear tips in there, but at the top were the Baroques, and he just started cracking up. So, all right. So the Baroque ear tips are very supple. So they're they're nice for when you have a certain problem fit ear IEMs.
Yes.
So an example is, and I mentioned it in the Singolo segment, the Crinical Singolo with Kiwi ears. I had a little bit of difficulty getting that to sit in my ears right with the stock tips.
Mm-hmm.
I put those on, which are nice and supple and kind of grabby in a nice way.
Yeah.
And just pop them in, and I got a fit with the single O's immediately. Now, the one thing about the Baroques is they are kind of more like, because they're so supple and soft, they're more like the spiral dot, like the spiral dots and the spiral dot plus tips. So you don't jam them into your ear because they'll deform. The leading edge of the inside cylinder will collapse sometimes. But this, you just put it in and it grabs and seals.
Yeah.
And right when you feel that seal, you're good. Anyway, with the single O, that fixed it. So that is one of my favorite tips for some certain problem fits. Now, because it's so supple, I found for me that I had to go kind of one size up. So I'm using large, whereas usually I use medium or medium like medium small or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like with the Sedna ear fit tips.
Yes, exactly.
But anyway, so for those, I size up. So anyway, at the show, if they have the Baroques for sale or available, pick them up. Try them on first, of course, and then if you like them, pick them up. Now, last thing with L-Tech, at CanJam New York, they had 2 prototype IEMs, actually.
They did.
So not accessories, not cables, but IEMs. And I think I don't know if they were code names.
They were code names.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
I think overwhelmingly people preferred the Romeo.
I believe so.
And as I understand it, that will be at the show.
Yeah, you'll be able to hear I think it's a new iteration of the Romeo, but the Romeo is the one they're going to be showing off.
So don't miss that either.
Okay, I am definitely not a bass head, but I can 100% appreciate when a passionate pursues something they love, and the Fat Freak Scarlett Mini is a bass head love letter.
It is.
It is a wonderful piece for anybody who wants slam and thump and texture down low and sub bass. I mean, sub bass.
Yes.
Super low reach.
Yeah, it's super visceral.
It really is.
Now, that's the one thing. And the people that love it, love it.
They do.
So Fat Freak is from Singapore.
They are.
So they're a Singaporean IEM manufacturer. I think most of the community that we're talking to here probably knows exactly who they are.
I'm sure.
And the one thing they are is unabashed lovers of bass.
They really are.
And the Fat Freak Scarlett Mini, which we had here for a little while, does bass big.
Yes.
Does big bass well.
It does.
And the rest of what it does is actually really nice too.
It is really nice up top.
Now, it is more bass than I consider myself a semi-audiophile bass head, and it's probably heavier than I go ever. But if you look on the forums, I mean, people that love bass-heavy presentations, bass-emphasized presentations, love this IEM.
They do.
So if you're one of those, definitely don't miss the Fat Freak Scarlett Mini.
Jomo Audio is a company we've seen at a number of CanJams, and I first took notice of them a few years back when they released their Trinity. It's a tribrid in-ear.
Might have been more than a few years ago. I don't even remember now.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it was the early days of the Sony and EST drivers, the electrostatic tweeters.
Yep.
And not every company was doing them right. I mentioned in another segment that Visioneers was one of them in the early days, and so was Jomo with the Trinity.
They really were. And they're back with a new one. This is the Emerald Instinct. Now, the name Emerald, the finish is an emerald green with a gold machined faceplate. I love this color combination.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have a thing for green right now, too. I just bought a green knife.
You're on a green kick.
I'm on a green kick.
Yeah. But they're also doing some cool stuff inside with those drivers. So inside of this, there are 2 custom 10mm titanium diaphragm dynamic drivers inside of a CNC'd brass ACC, that's an airflow control chamber, bass acoustic chamber. There are 6 high-precision balanced armature drivers and 1 9-layer PZT ceramic piezoelectric driver. It's putting out a sound signature that to me sounds kind of, it's V-shaped.
I would say
it pushes
so.
the low-end limits for me a bit, but it's still a nice sound overall.
Yeah, so that I kind of figured when I heard them that would probably be too bassy for you. To be clear, this isn't like the Fat Freak level of bass.
Yes.
But it is certainly a V-shaped signature.
It is.
In my notes, I say audiophile V-shaped signature. And for those who love that signature, and there are many, this is definitely a top of your list kind of item that you should listen to. For me, it's probably at the top, definitely the top range of where my bass preferences are.
I can see that, yeah.
But it is, but I really enjoy listening to this one. So yeah, for those who like that signature, what we're describing, yeah, that's definitely one that has to be on the list. Now, I love when this happens, when we get prototypes early on to listen to and evaluate. So Jomo Audio sent us these 2 prototypes. They'll be showing them at CanJam Singapore.
Yeah.
I want to make very clear that these are prototypes. They are probably going to change appearances, maybe even drastically by the time you even hear them or by the time they're productized in final form. But anyway, so I want to start with the first one, which is the Swift prototype. It's a tribrid, 2 Sonian bone conduction drivers, 1 10mm dynamic driver, 1 6mm planar magnetic driver. So the bone conduction driver is mid-focused, something that you mentioned in the Camper segment.
Right.
Now, the bass on this, the tonal balance, I would consider on the neutral vocal forward side. So let me explain. So the bass for me is kind of on the flat, in what I would call perceived flat, but a little bit more. The top end I found to be quite smooth.
It is.
But resolving. But the vocals are forward. I found the vocals to be presented forward, and I rather enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So
nice.
as prototypes go, I will say of the 2, the Swift and the Neuron, which I'm going to get to in a minute, I probably preferred the Swift.
Of the 2, I definitely do.
Okay. Actually, of the 3 Jomo pieces,
overall, I'd say that's my general pick of the 3. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the tonal balance.
The tonal balance is very nice. Yeah.
The next prototype is the Jomo Audio Neuron.
Yes, Neuron.
I keep saying neutron, but it's Neuron. And this is a hybrid that uses 2 Sonian bone conduction drivers, again, mid-band focused drivers, 6 balanced armatures in a 2-2-2 configuration. So that's 2 bass, 2 mid, 2 high.
Right.
And the sound signature of the Neuron, to me, is the most unique of the 3.
Yeah, it really is.
So this one has a signature you don't hear a lot. It is a mid-focused signature to me.
Yes.
So the mid-band is quite rich. I would almost call it like a thicker mid-range.
Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah, and it has nice resolving treble.
Yes.
But if you are a mid-focused listener, this should definitely be on the audition list. Why hold my VE10s?
Because I haven't seen them in so long.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite in-ears. So admittedly, I kind of hog these. And since they've arrived, they've been pretty much with me all the time. So they're one of the IEMs I've been listening to the most since their arrival for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what it is, the VE10, the Visioneers VE10 was to celebrate 10 years of Visioneers.
Right.
And which in talking to Oliver Marino, the designer, I thought that was kind of funny because, obviously is the 10th anniversary edition. It had to have 10 drivers.
Sure.
And, so I find that funny. I found that funny that they, they determined that first is kind of what
That's
I gather.
the start point.
And then now we just got to get it right. So let's start with 10 drivers and get it right. And man, did they get it right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what the drivers are. So it has 1 8mm dynamic driver with acoustic low pass, 4 mid-low BAs, 2 mid BAs, 2 mid-high BAs, 1 super tweeter BA. And I will say, by the way, on that super tweeter BA, that's the one thing that I think Oliver does very well with BAs is he gets really nice treble extension out of them.
Yeah, he does.
And not all BA treble IEMs have great treble extension. He seems to always massage that into them, and I love it. So what do I love about these? I would say they're definitely within my range of neutrality, but from the bass standpoint, they're, I would say, richer than what I would perceive as flat.
Okay.
And I love their presentation that way and their overall balance. Great imaging as well.
Mm-hmm.
For me, they image beautifully, coherently, somewhat wide. It's not about the width for me. It's about just how the image objects have nice solidity within my little head stage, with IEMs. Now, the one thing, I've told this story in other previews. I was talking to a very well-known IEM designer who is not, his IEMs are certainly well-known, who is not a Visioneers employee, just to be clear. It wasn't Oliver. I was talking to Oliver. No, I was talking to another engineer, and he's actually the one who recommended that I listen to these.
Mm-hmm.
It was at one of our CanJams during setup, and he asked if I'd heard it, and I said no. He said you should listen to it because what they've done in terms of bass texture with that 1 8mm driver is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I went to hear him in the first place on the recommendation of another engineer.
Right.
So anyway, to me, this is a can't miss. Now, I will say this. I was talking to Oliver recently. We chat fairly regularly. And I wanted just to hear from his words, like, how would you describe the VE10? Kind of put him on the spot.
Right.
And he said, for my vision of sound, I would define it as warm, but at the same time, fresh, resolving, and accurate.
Fresh is a good word.
And he put that in quotes. And I like it too.
Yeah.
I would say I think that's a fair description for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of his masterpieces.
Yeah.
And he's designed several IEMs I love. I think he's one of the first to implement ESTs correctly, several years back when they first came out. And yeah, so big fan of the VE10. I do want to mention very quickly its MDAC score.
Yes.
Just because I have it. It did very, very well. That's an understatement. Yeah. So its mean opinion score, or timbre, 4.9 out of 5. Its immersiveness is among the highest we've seen so far at 4.7.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was something else scored 4.7. The Grell over-ear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So 4.7 for immersiveness. Its overall score, 4.8. So it did extremely well.
Yeah.
And it's one of my references. So they have several other models to listen to. So at the Visioneers exhibit, you will definitely will they have their own exhibit there? Yeah, they do.
They do.
Yeah. So at the Visioneers exhibit, make sure to check out one of my references, the VE10 for sure. Elysian Acoustic Labs will be exhibiting at CanJam Singapore. They'll have their own exhibit. You have to go to their exhibit if you want to hear 2 of my references.
Yeah.
So I have a handful of reference IEMs. 2 of them happen to be Elysians, one the Annihilator and the other the Diva.
Yep.
They're talked about a lot in the community.
They are.
In the water cooler thread, for example, the Annihilator, when they do the polls, always comes at or near the top of the list.
Yeah, it annihilates.
It annihilates. And the Diva is one of my favorites as far as just overall balance. It's such a balanced sounding piece, and it's tunable with the switches. So if you haven't heard either of those 2, the Diva or the Annihilator, please do listen to them. I want to focus on this, though. This is the newest one. And this is, I heard an earlier prototype at PotaFest in Tokyo last December.
Oh, nice.
When he told me what he was going to sell it for, I was blown away. This is the Elysian Acoustic Labs Pilgrim. And it's a 1 dynamic driver, 3 balanced armature, 3-way crossover design.
Yep.
The goal for the Pilgrim, according to Lee from Elysian, is to open the door for people who love Elysian tuning but couldn't buy Diva and Annihilator because of price.
Exactly.
And I can see where he's coming from when you listen to it. It's definitely a tuning that doesn't surprise me from him. I would describe its tuning as because it has pretty rich bass.
Okay.
And I would describe its tuning as overall like a studio monitor type tuning, but with lifted bass, well executed bass. Most of the lift is pretty low.
Yeah.
So it's super impactful, but I find it very attractive. The treble, I would say, is on the high side of my preference.
Okay.
Doesn't cross it. I've said that about a couple of other IEMs in this preview.
Right.
And I just can't believe what he's charging for it. It sounds like an Elysian IEM model. I would have thought it would cost more. All right. They're going to have another model also called the Pilgrim Noir. The Pilgrim Noir is it's kind of an upgraded version.
Oh, okay.
This we do not have.
Right.
I've not even seen a picture of it yet. The Pilgrim Noir is also a 1 dynamic driver 3 BA design, but with a 4-way crossover versus 3-way. I'm told it has a more full-bodied tonality. They doubled up the mids driver from Pilgrim and swapped out the high-frequency balanced armature driver to refine the treble further. So hello.
Okay.
That sounds like something I want to hear.
Yeah.
And so I will definitely be going there to hear that. And the Pilgrim Noir also comes with the Effect Audio Eros S cable in a colorway that fits the entire Dark Lux vibe of the Pilgrim Noir.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
So I love that it comes with an Effect Audio Eros S cable in a unique colorway because I like it. Well, we put an Effect Audio cable on here. So, did I mention that this is not the stock cable?
You did not.
So I should mention this. This is an Effect Audio code 23C.
24C.
I'm sorry, code 24C.
Yeah.
This the Pilgrim that was sent to us was sent so early that they didn't have the stock cable ready for it.
Right.
So I put the code 24C limited on it, and it's a nice pairing, by the way. So I've tried some other cables, but I've stuck with this one.
Yeah.
So don't miss the Pilgrim and the Pilgrim Noir at the Elysian Acoustic Lab exhibit, and please do not miss, if you haven't already heard them, the Annihilator and the Diva, 2 of my references.
Now, we were just talking about how that Elysian Pilgrim Noir comes with the custom Eros S cable from Effect Audio. Yeah. And right now we have the regular Pilgrim paired with the Code 24C Limited. And this is the cable that I fell in love with when it arrived ahead of CanJam New York. So the Code 24C Limited, yeah, that's a mouthful. Code 24C Limited is an 18.5 gauge 2-wire design with premium UP-OCC copper lits. Inside there are 17 multi-sized core bundles, and it comes with support for both Connex and Termex. Now, this has what they call a galactic purple finish, and I adore this shade. Like, my iPhone is the purple iPhone. I love this color, and the finish is quite lovely. It feels very nice and soft in the hand. It's only $500. Now, unlike the regular Code 24, the Code 24C Limited is only for in-ears. But if you have a pair of in-ears that you want to pair with it to kind of give it that nice coppery sound,
Yeah,
there you go. That is a fantastic way to do it.
the way they describe it here is the result is a vocal powerhouse cable that still provides impressive subs, reminiscent of the deepest lows achieved by Code 23, which is one of their
Their
other
previous
cables.
code, yeah.
And so that's why we paired it with the Pilgrim.
With the Pilgrim, yeah.
Yeah, because I think that is a nice pairing.
It really is.
Now, you just said the Code 24C is available only as an IEM cable.
Right.
The Effect Audio Code 24, which is upmarket from the Code 24C, is available as both IEM and headphone cable.
Yes.
So in the IEM cable format, it's $799 USD, and as a headphone cable, it's $999 USD. I just want to emphasize that we're thinking and talking in USD.
Exactly.
Now, the Code 24 is a 16.5 gauge two-wire design. It consists of premium UPOCC silver-plated copper lits, which is ultra-pure Ono continuous cast.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty good. All right, 13 multi-sized core bundles inside. Support for both Connex and Termex. So Connex is the ear side connector. You can switch it out for just about any ear side connector you need.
Exactly.
Termex is that side, and you can switch it out for just about anything you need, which for us is handy because with our measurement rig, it's usually in unbalanced format, so we can switch that out very easily. That has come massively in handy.
Oh, yes.
They say it's the most flexible 16.5 gauge IEM cable in the world.
I can believe that. It's very soft, very comfortable.
Yeah, 16.5 gauge, I think people have to understand, that's a pretty thick IEM cable.
It is very thick for
and
an
for
IEM.
its thickness, it is quite supple.
Yes.
All right. Now, the way they describe it, they say that our flagship silver-plated copper cable with a signature super tweeter effect. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
In the sense that we have tended to pair this with IEMs that are either on the warmer or smoother side. So the Code 24, the Code 24C at Effect Audio's exhibit, yeah, these you should definitely give a try to. Now, there's one more fun thing from Effect Audio that I didn't want to forget to mention.
Right.
So Effect Audio will be celebrating their 15th anniversary with a special community-focused charity event to raise money for the hearing impaired, the final details of which you'll be able to find at their CanJam Singapore exhibit. So stop by and spread some love this CanJam season. Visit the Effect Audio exhibit and ask them about this. Now, at first blush, I think it looks probably certainly from the far camera, like we're holding the same in-ear.
Oh, I'm sure they look identical from that
They
distance.
probably look nearly identical. But up close, which we
Yep.
have photos of, you'll see they're quite different.
They are.
I don't know, quite different. They're different.
They are different.
So the one you're holding is the Subtonic Storm Launch Edition.
Yes.
That's I think that has more hand finishing on it. It was a launch edition. It was a
It's more intricate for sure.
yeah, limited edition series. And the one I'm holding is the regular edition Storm. So they are exactly the same. So I was told Sonics are exactly the same with the regular Storm, just aesthetic changes. And it has a slightly improved cable, I believe. This is the Mira Mark II cable. You have the Mira Mark I cable. So it says that the Mira Mark II has updated sleeving and hardware with sonic improvements. All right. So let's talk about what this is. What this is probably one of the most talked about high-end IEMs ever. I mean, it's it's so loved
By many.
by many, myself included.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say the Subtonic Storm is probably, it's definitely one of the top in terms of cost no object IEMs I've ever heard. It simply does everything right and nothing wrong. That's just my opinion. And it is, I like their quote that I saw. I was on their website just, to see what they were saying about it. It says, reference was never meant to be synonymous with boring.
No, that's true.
Yeah, that is true. So let's talk about what it has. I think it is, it's nearly an all BA design.
Yes.
I'll explain. So it has one Subtonic Slam subwoofer, one Subtonic Slam woofer. Okay, I want to first correct myself. I think it was, I took some heat for this one, kind of playful heat.
Yeah.
I think it was the CanJam SoCal preview last year. I don't know why I assumed that the subwoofer and woofer were dynamic. I said they were dynamic. They're not. They're BAs.
Well, I can guess why you might assume.
Yeah, because
But
it's really impactful,
it
really
is.
strong, but they're not. They are balanced armatures. Whoever called me out, thanks, guys. I deserve to be corrected. I apologize to the guys at Subtonic at the show. They were
Yeah.
like, oh, no worries. But anyways, so it is one Subtonic Slam subwoofer. That's BA. One Subtonic Slam woofer. One BA mid-woofer. Two BA mid-range. One BA mid-tweeter. One BA tweeter. And two EST. So that's the Sony and electrostatic super tweeters. All right. I don't think I don't think it's public. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, so I'm just not going to say much at all. But I talked to Chang from Subtonic. I think that was at CanJam SoCal, sitting out in the lobby where we all kind of gather and talk. And I was asking him about, like, what's the deal with these?
Mm-hmm.
You know, why do they take so long to make? You know, why are they so expensive?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
why do they sound this good? And what he described to me in terms of what they do to tune these and how much work goes into every pair made me respect kind of what I was hearing even more. Like,
Well, now I want to find out.
yeah, yeah. Well, we could talk about it offline, but
Okay.
but yeah. So they do some pretty incredible things to get these to be what they are. That's just the simplest way I can put it without giving anything away.
Mm-hmm.
And I have full respect for what they're trying to accomplish with these. Let me say it again, for what they accomplished with these.
Yeah.
Again, this is to me one of the best overall. I can't even think of a flaw for me, or something that I would necessarily improve other than making them more affordable. I wish that could be done. These are not inexpensive.
No, they're not.
It's, I mean, kind of out of my general price range for IEMs, but I don't know. I mean, I might have to make that stretch.
Yeah.
So this is a can't miss. I know in the community that we're talking about here, the Singapore IEM community, they know this piece. I mean, they're from Singapore.
Right.
But if you haven't heard the Storm, you got to hear the Storm. So check out the new the non-launch edition, the
Right.
regular edition one. They do look a little different,
Yeah.
but they're exactly the same sonically. So this, to me, is just about the biggest can't miss if you're just one of those people that happens to have missed it so far.
Now, we've talked about a few true wireless in-ears, and while they're not crazy expensive, they're also not the most affordable options available. This, however, is the Creative Orvana Ace 2. It is highly affordable, and there's something really cool inside of here. This is one of the first IEMs that I've seen fully integrated with XMEMS technology. So it's using one of their XMEMS silicon micro speakers, and in the US here, this thing runs about $150.
Yeah, that's super affordable.
It's highly affordable, and it does some really cool things in addition to the XMEMS as far as codecs goes. So this supports LC3, aptX lossless, aptX adaptive, aptX AAC, and SBC. So plenty of options, and pretty much anything that's out there. Like the LC3 is a very new standard. The aptX lossless is a very new standard. So they have a Orvana Ace 1, which doesn't have lossless. I'd say future-proof yourself and get the Ace 2 just because it has it.
I agree.
And here it's only $20 more.
And it sounds, okay, so I heard it first at CanJam Dallas.
Yes.
They were showing a prototype.
Right.
I heard it, and I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what changes they made since then, because this one sounds better than my memory of it at Dallas for sure. I remember the one at Dallas for some reason being quite a bit bassier than this one.
I felt the same, yeah.
Yeah, and this one's more balanced to me. I really enjoy the sound of this one, and for $150, it's just, yeah, that's an easy recommendation. $150.
Yeah, and then it also has Bluetooth 5.3. It has an IPX5 rating, 6 hours of runtime, and 24 hours total with the charging case. So for $150, you're getting a lot of value, especially with those sonic tweaks.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that when we talk dollars in this video, we're in the U.S.
The U.S.
So we
dollars.
mean U.S. dollars. I don't know what
Exactly.
it's going to be in Singapore,
Yeah,
but the whole
right.
point is it's affordable.
Yes.
These are the IEMs of my people.
Are they?
No.
They're from Chicago?
Yeah. So I was born in Chicago, but my parents were born in the Philippines. Anyway, these are from the Philippines. It's my company I learned about at CanJam SoCal called Flip Ears.
Yes.
They're going to have their own exhibit at CanJam Singapore. And I picked these up at CanJam SoCal,
Yeah.
which is where I met them. And these are called the Artha, and I quite enjoy these. So it's an all BA design. There's 8 BAs per side in a 2 sub bass, 2 low, 2 mid, 2 high configuration. So all BA design, and what's cool about these also is that they have 2 switches per side, 2 switches that are accessible with normal fingernails.
Which is so nice.
Which is so nice. You don't
Yes.
need a SIM pusher or a
Exactly.
paper clip to switch them. And they allow you to, so one of the switches is for low boost and the other for what they call peak shifting.
Yeah.
I haven't measured these, so I don't know exactly what that upper switch is doing, but you can hear it. So there's a balanced setting. That would be, I believe, both switches down, which is where I keep it usually. Bass boost, extended high frequency, best of both worlds. That's both switches up. They're all usable signatures. I tend to keep them both down into the balance mode. So the one thing I want to mention is no matter which tuning you choose, and they're all usable tunings, something that just stands out to me is that female vocals tend to be brought forward.
Okay.
In a nice way. It's in a flattering way.
Yeah.
And you don't have to listen to female vocalists to enjoy these. But I think if you do, and I tend to listen to a lot of music with female vocalists.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of that in your music around the office.
Yeah, and so and it tends to flatter female vocalists very, very well.
Okay.
So these are very enjoyable. I want to listen to the rest of their lineup at CanJam Singapore because I ran into them actually, but we just chit-chatted the whole time, I think, at the Tokyo Podafest.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Nice.
last December.
Yeah.
So I want to listen to their whole lineup. So again, Flip Ears will be exhibiting on their own at CanJam Singapore.
Now, I'm holding here an IEM that you and I both agree is fantastic. It ticks all the boxes that we look for, and it's the Sennheiser IE900. Now, the IE900 is a single dynamic driver IEM from Sennheiser. It's a fantastic sounding piece. I'll just say right away, this kind of deviates from what I consider more of my standard preferences. It's a very fun, very energetic, very incisive, and dynamic sounding piece. And I just love this one. I can listen to it for so long without getting bored. It's just constantly bringing out some of the most fun in the tracks that I love
And you
to
carry
listen
it
to.
pretty much everywhere you go.
Yeah.
So it has converted you a little bit more to my side, a little more impact.
If anything's bringing me your direction, this is definitely one of those.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, we've talked about this in other videos, but you and I don't have a lot of headphones and earphones that we listen to that I say, I love it, and you say, I love it.
Right.
A lot of times it's like you say, I love it, and I'm like, yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Or I'll say, I love it, and you say it's pretty good. Or sometimes we just don't like what the other one likes. In this
Exactly.
case, this is one of the rare examples where we both love this product.
Yes.
We did a full video review of it, including measurements, so please look for that on our channel. I think for the first 5 minutes, I talk about how this kind of like, again, it doesn't sound like the ZMF Atrium, but like the Atrium, it walks its own path. It does not adhere to any common targets. It's what Sennheiser wanted that earphone to sound like.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful sounding earphone. So you mentioned it's a single driver dynamic.
Yes.
One of the beautiful things they do as far as engineering goes are the resonators. So
those are awesome. Yeah.
in previous models they've had, for some of them I think if not most or all of them, they had the resonators kind of in the acoustic pathway, like in the main part of the acoustic pathway. This they did as side volumes. Almost like like an ear simulator.
Yeah, similar.
Ish, yeah. And so it takes super precise machining to accomplish it. We showed in our video, so do watch that if you haven't seen it. But that is, for me, a can't miss. I think it's the best overall IEM Sennheiser has ever made.
Yeah.
This was just recently released. This is the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 4. I have to mention this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's one of the two true wireless earphones I use for listening to music dedicatedly. So when I need the freedom of true wireless and I want to listen to music dedicatedly, there are a couple pairs I use. One is from Hi-Fi Man. The other is the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 4. And before that, I used the True Wireless 3.
Yeah.
So the Momentum True Wireless, the first one and the second one, I had to EQ. Starting with the Momentum True Wireless 3, I didn't have to.
Yep.
The Momentum True Wireless 4, I also don't have to EQ. You can if you want to. It's in the app, but I don't have to. I like the default signature. Now, what did they do to improve it? Well, it's a refinement of the True Wireless 3. They added adaptive noise cancellation. There's a 6-mic system for outgoing voice, and its outgoing voice quality is actually very good, which is important to me since I'm constantly on calls, video calls, Zoom calls, Teams calls, and I will actually grab these for that.
Yeah.
Which makes it kind of unique in my arsenal because I listen to music through it dedicatedly, but I will also use it for those kinds of activities. It has 7.5 hours of runtime, 30 with the charging case, 1 hour of play with an 8-minute charge, which is a nice feature.
It is.
And it comes in 3 colors. There's a white silver, a black graphite, and a black copper.
But we have the best one with the black
Which
copper.
is black copper.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the best of the 3 colors in
It's
my
beautiful.
opinion. It is beautiful. This is actually a beautiful color.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is to me the only color. No offense, Sennheiser. So this is one, if you're looking for true wireless, this is one of the ones you have to hear for a dedicated music true wireless. Now, at CanJam London last year, I had so many people coming to me telling me I had to listen to the Nightjar Singularity.
I did too, yeah.
So it's the Nightjar Acoustic Singularity. And it was almost as if Nightjar had hired people to pull people into their exhibit. And I'm joking. They did not do that. I want to be clear. They did not do that. But that's how popular it was at the show.
Right.
Everybody wanted to hear this thing. And so I finally sat down to listen to it. and I can see why. There is something special about single driver designs.
There is.
If you can pull off what you want to pull off with a single driver.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. So as I gave it away, it's a single dynamic driver design. So a
Right.
single dynamic driver per side. It uses something they call Timbre Plus or Timbre Plus, optimizes airflow while balancing the moving mass and magnetic flux of the driver to achieve a technical yet natural presentation with robust bass performance and properly extended highs. Very fair. Very,
Okay.
very fair description. They have something called Low Flex, a carefully tuned system of pressure relief that allows for a tremendous bass response while minimizing driver flex and maximizing isolation. Okay, I can't vouch for all that, but I can say that it has tremendous bass response. And I'm showing a price here of $1,300 US. Now, this is one of the IEMs I've heard recently where richness of tone, where bass emphasis was a predominant characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
And for an IEM I describe that way, it's grown into one of my favorites with more and more listening time. So for any IEM I describe is where its richness is a predominant characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
This is growing into one of my favorites. And I do believe that when you can accomplish what you want to accomplish sonically with one driver versus multiple,
Right.
I mean, listen, let's face it, most of my favorite in-ears are multi-driver designs. But when you can accomplish your goal, your acoustic goal with one driver, there just seems to come advantages with that, a certain coherency
Right.
that comes with a well-designed single-driver design. And the Singularity is a great example of that, is I guess my point here. So I can see why, like in the water cooler thread, why they dig this
They do.
big time.
Yeah.
And if you're one of the, I'm guessing in the community, if you're one of the Singaporean community who hasn't heard it, I'm guessing maybe a lot of them have by now.
Probably,
Because
yeah.
it's a Singaporean maker. If you haven't heard it, definitely stop by Zeppelin&Co. They're going to have the Nightjar Acoustic Singularity.
Now there's another new in-ear for you to check out at CanJam Singapore, and this one is coming from Dunu. It's called the Dunu Glacier. The Dunu Glacier is a 9-driver tri-braid design with 1 dynamic driver, 4 balanced armature drivers, and 4 electrostatic drivers. It features a dual 4-way frequency control, and Dunu says that dynamic driver is precision-tuned, tailored for low-frequency artistry. The Dunu Glacier comes with a brand new exclusive flagship cable, and it's coming with the Q-Lock Plus Quick Switch modular plug system. It also comes with what I consider one of the best-looking IEM cases I've seen in quite some time.
Now, that cable is very new to us.
Well, the company is new to us, actually.
Yeah, very new to us.
So this is from Vortex Cables. This is the Lavinia, and the Lavinia is the flagship in their cable line. Now, the Lavinia is a 20.4 gauge cable, and the core is made from 4N pure silver, gold-plated OCC copper, gold-plated 4N silver, and palladium-plated 4N silver, so there's a lot of material inside of there. And it comes with a silver-plated 5N OFC shielding inside. Now, about the cores, there's something really interesting that I read in their materials. They say Vortex has developed a proprietary golden cable ratio specifically designed for in-ear headphones. The core of the cable uses 3 different materials and diameters in a golden ratio to create unique channels for different frequencies to conduct. So there's some really cool construction in this.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive as far as flagships go.
Now, I want to say real quickly, Vortex is a Hong Kong-based brand. Again, they're new to us.
Yeah.
But we just found out that there are some pretty experienced cable veterans.
There are.
Yeah, behind the brand. Now, what they do is aim to provide customers with high-quality upgraded cables at an affordable price without compromising on quality.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, that's their flagship. And I believe the price on that one is $759 US, I'm guessing.
Right.
So as flagship cables go, that's reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for the cable aficionados in the community, guys like in the water cooler community,
Yep.
who do a lot of cable swapping, now you have a new brand to check out at CanJam Singapore.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a brand that has some fantastic machining for one. So the termination and the Y-split on this are absolutely lovely. And then I do appreciate that it has Effect Audio's Connex. So it's one of the few companies that I know outside of Effect Audio that use the Connex system. And it's really nice to have that flexibility. So they'll be able to find this at Vortex Cable Exhibit.
So they're exhibiting independently?
They are on their own.
Okay.
So I'm holding here the Noble Audio Focus Triumph. It is the latest in-ear, true wireless in-ear in their line, and it's not their flagship that's still held by the Focus Prestige, but the Focus Triumph has something very interesting inside. It comes with a single custom-made 6.5 millimeter dynamic driver. That's pretty standard, aside from the custom part, but it also has a single Cowl XMEMS driver. Now, for those who don't know the term, Cowl is the first micro speaker to use XMEMS' second generation M2 speaker cell architecture. So as far as I'm aware, this is the first wireless, actually any in-ear, that uses the second generation driver.
Yeah, that's actually all news to me. So
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
So it comes with Bluetooth 5.3 and it supports pretty much most of the standard wireless codecs like SBC, AAC, aptX Adaptive, LDAC, and Snapdragon Sound. It has a transparency mode, which is, very nice to have if you need the flexibility when you're out and about. It also features multi-pairing and multi-connection support. So if you're a person who's swapping devices or swapping sources, this is a fantastic way to do that. It has, I think, a battery life of 7.5 hours, somewhere right around there. And the charging case, I think, gives you full 4 charges, if I'm not mistaken. And it also supports wireless charging, which is nice.
And it's covered in Alcantara.
I
love Alcantara.
So it feels very nice in the hand there.
Yeah.
If anybody's looking for a true wireless offering, I would definitely say check this out because, first of all, that XMIMS driver, they do some really cool stuff with XMIMS technology.
They do.
And it's going to be a very nice piece for someone to audition.
Now, at the Noble exhibit, here's another IEM that has to be tried.
Mm-hmm.
This is the new Noble Audio Onyx.
Right.
And this is an 8-driver quad-bridge IEM. It has one 10mm dynamic driver for bass and sub-bass, 4 Knowles BAs for mids and high frequencies, 2 Sonian electrostatic high-frequency drivers, and 1 bone conductor to enhance and give texture to the mids and highs. I think that's the Sonian one.
I think so, and that's another one that's using the bone conduction in the mid-range.
Yeah, that seems to be increasingly common. I think we're going to see more and more of that,
yeah,
especially with some of the results we've heard.
Right.
Now, the Onyx shell is CNC'd aluminum with a Raffir, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a Raffir composite faceplate and stainless steel wax guard. And I think this is very cool. It comes with an Audio-Technica Courage cable terminated in 4.4.
That is pretty cool.
So that is pretty cool that it comes with an Audio-Technica cable. Now, as far as the sound signature goes, in my notes, I have all rich, all the time with treble sparkle.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a rich sounding in-ear. And I find that a lot of headfires are gravitating to a richer sound signature.
It does feel that way.
I feel like in the past, it was always this search for almost a drier neutrality.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I feel like more and more are digging the bassier sound, the richer sound. And this has rich mids and rich bass with some treble sparkle. And I think there are a lot of headfires that would love to audition this product. At the Noble exhibit, don't miss the Onyx either.
Now, we've talked about Flash Acoustics in a number of CanJam preview videos because you've had the Flash Acoustics Ultron in your rotation for a while now.
Yeah.
And I feel like lately I've primarily seen it paired with the Elysian Acoustic Labs Annihilator.
Yeah, I've tried it with
there.
several. So this is their flagship cable, the Ultron. And I have tried it with several different in-ears, and it's great with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it just tends to find a home on the Annihilator most of the time. And so rather than, I've talked about it before, so it is their flagship, rather than try to go over how it's constructed, which I've never attempted before because it's so complex.
Yep.
We're just going to show a cross-section of it, I hope, on the screen right about now. But what I wanted to do really quickly is you're holding the Thanos.
Yeah, the Thanos is a more recent addition. We just picked it up, after CanJam SoCal?
At CanJam SoCal.
At CanJam SoCal,
So what happened was I ran into Chang at CanJam SoCal. He's with Subtonic and Nightjar. And I think I either showed him or told him I was using the Ultron from Flash Acoustics. And he said, have you tried the Thanos? I actually prefer the Thanos. I like it more.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, really? And he said, you should go over there to Flash Acoustics exhibit and try the Thanos because they're right there. So I did. Ended up picking it up right away. And I think I would say 90% of the time since I've picked it up, it's been on the Elysian Diva.
Yeah, it's such a nice pairing.
Beautiful pairing.
Yeah.
So at CanJam Singapore, they will be at Zeppelin & Co.
Yep.
So make sure you go to the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit and try Flash Acoustics. I think they're better known in the Asia-Pacific region right now than they are in the United States, where we are.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely don't miss Flash Acoustics at Zeppelin & Co.
And I do want to mention very quickly, I was talking to Christy, and I don't have details, but Christy was saying that there is a CanJam special limited edition Flash Acoustics cable at their exhibit. So people are definitely going to want to stop by and check that out.
I'm going to have to do that. Now, IceLab is a maker not well known yet in the U.S.
Right.
Better known in Asia.
Yes.
And this is the IceLab Prismatica Gold Limited Edition IEM. Very limited edition, by the way.
Yes.
And what's kind of funny is that we have the IEM, but very little information was sent.
Exactly.
And so we've been left to do a lot of Google translating because most of the information we found isn't in English. Now, we did find that there is another Prismatica that's a non-limited edition Prismatica from IceLab.
Yeah.
That's a 5BA design, a 5-balanced armature design. I'm assuming this may also be a 5-balanced armature design with upgrades.
Exactly.
So from what we can tell from Google Translate, it has an electroplated, an 18-karat gold electroplated aviation grade aluminum shell
Mm-hmm.
with a 24 karat gold foil embossed black gold face plates.
And it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. This is a beautiful in-ear, and it feels really nice too. Very,
It does.
very high quality build. The Prismatica Gold has been internally upgraded to gold-plated sterling silver, gold and silver internal cables, so that translated well, thankfully.
Right.
360 Halo sound staging and extreme bass technology. Now, this translated pretty darn clearly, only 18 pairs will be made.
Yes.
So it is extremely limited edition. So from their Facebook page, we gathered that this is to celebrate the IceLab 10th anniversary,
Mm-hmm.
and that it is inherited, it descends from the non-limited edition Prismatica.
Right.
All right, that's the extent of the information we have. I wish I could tell you more, but you really should listen to it because it's quite good.
It is.
Yes, and this, I would say that this has a, like in my notes I call it a rich balance to tonal balance. That is, I would say overall it's a balanced tuning on the richer side, with a nice sparkly treble, nice detailed treble.
Mm-hmm.
And in the CanJam New York thread, because IceLab was there,
Yeah.
There were a few reviews in the impressions thread about this.
Yes.
And I think the non-limited edition Prismatica.
I think there was as well.
And I did not listen to those at CanJam New York. But I really enjoyed this one. So now I want to hear how they compare when I go to their exhibit, and they will be exhibiting independently at CanJam Singapore. But if you're interested in this, because of the limited edition nature, very limited edition nature, and given how enthusiastic the IEM market is in Singapore, I would suggest making IceLab your first stop if you're interested in it. Otherwise, you might miss out on the Prismatica Gold limited edition.
So this is the Symphonium Audio Crimson, and it's been away from us for a little while, and I was so excited to find out that it was coming back for a brief stop. I've missed this.
Yeah, you love that thing.
It is a lovely sounding in-ear. So detailed, so resolving, so clear. I love everything about it.
It was very popular at CanJam London last year.
Yeah, it really was.
That was another one that people are saying I had to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was quite lovely. Still is. And it's an all BA design. Now, they don't tell us exactly what all is going into that arrangement, but it is balanced armature. And on the front, it has a nice forged carbon faceplate and an AL6061 aluminum body. It looks lovely, and that look matches the sound. It just sounds so nice. I love having this back, and I'll be sad when it has to leave again.
So I would describe, so for me, it is on the it's on the bright side.
Sure, for you.
So yeah, it crosses my threshold for bright,
Mm-hmm.
but I really do appreciate its sound signature.
Yes.
Like I can totally get why you love it and why so many people were all over it.
Yeah, it is wonderful.
I mentioned I think it was the CanJam New York preview, I mentioned that last year my friend JP11801,
Mm-hmm.
he bought a pair, and you had to jump through hoops in London to get a pair. You had to register online, and I don't remember exactly what all he had to do, but he ended up with a pair of those. So for me, in my notes, I put Jude, nice but bright. Brian, bright but just right.
Yeah, exactly.
you really dig those. They're super resolving, by the way.
They are.
Yeah.
I love them so much. So you'll be able to find them at the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit.
Now, also at the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit will be this other Symphonium pair of IEMs. This is the Symphonium Titan.
Yes.
Now, this uses one 8mm dynamic driver plus 2 custom BAs. And I think they're saying it's hopefully launching within a month at $1,000. I'm guessing that's USD?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's USD. Now, this to me, compared to the Crimson,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks a lot like the Crimson in a different color.
Yeah, and they're both beautiful.
Is that also forged carbon fiber?
It looks like it, yeah.
So I love that material. I think I mentioned in the CanJam New York preview, I have a knife that I just picked up that uses forged carbon fiber handle scales. But anyways, to me, the Symphonium Titan, now this is just vis-a-vis the Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
It rather dramatically shifts the tonal balance compared to the Crimson with significantly more bass presence, like a lot more bass presence. And what I perceive as a smoother top end because of this. Let me explain. And I think this is something that we need to talk more about anyway.
Right.
Is human perception in terms of sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if all you do is you look at a graph and you increase bass, then you look at it. Let's say you increase bass and the rest of it look similar or something like that. Then you might just say, "Oh, look, increased bass." But what it does to the perception of the entire sound signature is shifts it completely sometimes.
Yeah.
So in this case, there's a significant bass presence increase, and then that seems to smooth the top end, if you will.
Okay.
Right? Because you're shifting the spectral balance.
Mm-hmm.
To be clear, though, there's still excellent treble presence and resolution with the Symphonium Titan. Now, for those who prefer a richer, bass-heavier tonality, a sort of V-shaped tonality, the Titan could be absolutely magical. So I think for those people, the Titan will be what the Crimson is to you.
Oh, okay, I get that, yeah.
Now, of the 3 Symphonium audio in-ears that we were sent for the CanJam Singapore preview, I would say this pair is my favorite.
Really?
Yeah, and it's the most affordable. This is the Symphonium Audio Meteor, M-E-T-E-O-R. And it's a balanced armature design. It uses something called TrueX three-way crossover and FAT technology, which stands for Phase Harmony Attenuation Technology. And they say the implementation of FAT reduces the overall space required for components while ensuring no unnecessary frequency inversions or phase cancellations, allowing us to achieve incredible treble extension in a small form factor. I'll vouch for that treble extension and the small form factor.
Yep.
And of the 3, the Meteor may have the most conventional and, for me, the most balanced signature. So I'd say it might have the most wide-ranging appeal.
Okay.
And it's a rich sounding in-ear. It's kind of, I would say, on balance, it's maybe on the slightly warmer side, even though it has that treble extension.
Right.
And because of its affordability, I think that'll help with its wide-ranging appeal. But just on sonics alone, I would say this one is my favorite of the 3. Again, maybe it's that more conventional signature.
Right.
But you don't give up richness, right? It's not as heavy as the Titan.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as bright as the Crimson.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like that whole the 3 bears. Is it the 3 bears?
The Goldilocks
story?
and the 3 bears,
Goldilocks
yeah.
and the 3 bears, just right,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah, so for me, this is the one that I would recommend the most, or at least the one that you listen to first before you try the other 2. Just my opinion at the Zeppelin & Co. exhibit. Okay, I guess we better stop at some point and start preparing for the trip to Singapore. That was obviously a lot of gear, and I do wish we could have covered everything that'll be at CanJam Singapore for you to listen to, as if this video wasn't long enough. That said, this was all still just a fraction, literally just a fraction of the gear that will fill the exhibit hall and exhibit rooms at CanJam Singapore, happening April 6th and 7th at the Pan Pacific Singapore in Marina Square. Scrolling on the screen now is a list of all the exhibitors and brands at CanJam Singapore this year. Now, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you all at CanJam Singapore and on the forums at headfi.org.